Conshohocken Borough Council duly open and ready to conduct any business that may come before it.
Councilmember Totino.
Present.
Councilmember Griffin.
Here.
Councilmember Sokolowski.
Here.
Councilmember Stokely.
Here.
Vice President Flanagan.
Here.
President Leonard.
Present.
Mayor Aronson.
Here.
And just note for the record that Councilmember Barton is not present. Thank you.
Welcome. We did have an executive session this evening before our regularly scheduled council meeting for a personnel matter, property matter, and legal matter pertaining to the fire companies. The first item on the agenda is interviews for Conshohocken Fire Company Number 2, Assistant Chief and Deputy Chief. Chief Gunning? Good evening.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm here tonight to introduce Dave Murphy and Leo Costello. Dave Murphy is currently the Assistant Chief, has been the Assistant Chief since 2016, and he is interviewing tonight for the Deputy's position. And then Leo Costello is here tonight to interview for the Assistant Chief's position. These positions play a major role in the Conshohocken Fire Department as a command staff. It requires you to go to more schooling, to advance yourself, to understand an incident as it grows, to make sure that everybody on scene is protected. And unfortunately, there's a decline in the fire service. The average age of a volunteer firefighter in the state of Pennsylvania is 46 years old. And these positions require a lot of experience in understanding what's going on at a fire scene. Dave Murphy has 15 years of experience. He's gone through all the ranks of the fire service from lieutenant on up to his current position now. Leo Costello, he's an old man. He has 39 years of experience. He's held every rank in the fire service, including the fire chief's position. These positions are crucial because in my absence or when we expand to a very large scene, they play a major role, and they might have to run these scenes if I'm not there.
Right.
So with that, if you have no further questions for me, I'll turn it over to Dave Murphy.
Good evening.
Good evening. Anyone have any questions?
I'll start. Dave, can you tell me what is the role of a deputy chief currently and how you see filling that position and what enhancements you would bring to it?
So the current role of the deputy chief is the deputy chiefs are first in line when the chief of department is not available. They handle all matters of command, all matters of personnel within the fire department. They also help to guide the captains who are responsible for training and equipment, also purchasing, but that technically is a captain's job. But we have a lot of influence, and they usually come to us for kind of, seeking counsel. So I would continue in that. Basically what I've been doing as assistant chief.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, what is some of the training you've taken so far?
So besides all the basic firefighting and rescue courses, as you advance, you have fire officer courses, and you have in particular command courses that are offered through FEMA. I think I've taken 5 of those, and they're usually a couple days a piece. And so when you get to the chief's level, you're looking at a larger incident, usually covering larger geographical areas, and more complex incidents that might involve more than just a fire, or more than just a chemical spill. You might have several issues going on at once. So as you advance, you learn how to manage that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have any questions? Tim, how about if we do Leo's interview also, and then we can, okay?
Yeah.
If you don't mind, Dave?
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Leo. Okay.
Questions?
Well, you definitely have the experience.
We all know you have the experience.
Could you also fill us in on some of the training that you have found valuable over the course of the years?
One of the biggest training is the experience. I do have a long career, and I've served under 6 other chiefs. Besides the structured educational stuff that comes from FEMA, from the county, state level. And I've also reached out to several online sources. There's some very excellent sources out there in the fire service through the International Association of Fire Chiefs, through various universities that have seminars, webinar seminars and podcasts and stuff that you can attend and listen to. That some of them target specific things, especially as times change. The freight lines that go through here now, one Bakken crude is one of the things that ships through here. It's more volatile than regular crude oil. There was some excellent seminars. There was the county did a scenario with that I attended, and there was some online stuff that I read about that. They're traveling right down across the river, and other things that are occurring. We have the mass shooter, the mass casualty incident, the active shooter incident coming up.
Right.
So these are all new issues that we have to deal with, other than just somebody burning their dinner.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
So Leo, you took a little break from leadership, took your breath,
Yes.
did some observations, I'm sure, of how things were going as changes occur with everything. What are some of the things or skill sets that you think that you can bring back that will continue to enhance our fire departments as we're going through what could be a crisis of volunteers and those kinds of things?
That's one of the things I looked at when I stepped back. I realized I was, in fact, becoming a dinosaur to some extent. I had some very old modes of thinking, and stepping back for a while allowed me to look at some stuff and say, you got to change your thought processes. One of the things that we need to do is, like, in the community, we need to find a way to reach out to the community in general and say, what do you know about us, and how can we interest you in helping us? What things? And some of it doesn't have to do with getting up at 2 in the morning in the rain and going out because somebody's had an accident or something like that. There's other ways that we can be helped, and how do we attract people to provide that aid
Right.
and to seek to support their community in that fashion. That's something I'm finding maybe best is bringing some outsiders in, an outside consultant of some sort to advise us, what are we missing?
Right.
And it's obvious to me that there are some things that we are missing, that we're not making that connection.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leo.
Does anyone else have any questions for either Leo or Dave? Okay, so on that, I would need, if council would like to do this evening, I would need a motion to appoint Dave Murphy to the position of Deputy Chief and Leo Costello to the position of Assistant Chief at the Conshohocken No. 2 Fire Company.
I'll make that motion. Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you for your service. The next item on the agenda is the Tax Increment Financing, or TIF, District Public Hearing, 7 Tower Bridge. Consider authorizing the advertisement of Ordinance 5 of 2019 affirming the 7 Tower Bridge TIF District within the Borough of Conshohocken. Mr. Peters?
Thank you. Ross, do you want to kick it off?
Good evening, Mr. Weiss.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to be back. And tonight, I have all 3 of Don Pulver's daughters here, and I don't know if you met all 3 or saw them all at the same time, but we have Esther, Ellen, and Elizabeth. And they're all here. They're all involved in the project. They're not here to just watch what is going on. They all work at Oliver Tyrone Pulver Corporation. Since we were last here on May 15th, I'd like to report to you and to the public that at their meetings on May 16th, the county commissioners passed their resolution to participate in the TIF project. The school district that night, May 16th, also passed its resolution. The Commonwealth Financing Authority also took action last month, official action, to approve the guarantee that's necessary for a portion of the TIF. When we were here last month, we made a PowerPoint presentation. We're prepared to do that again, albeit a little briefer than last time, I think. At the last presentation, our request was that you schedule tonight's hearing. And I was able to say to you that we're not asking for any official action. That's sort of the same thing tonight. Tonight, we are not asking you to take any official action to ordain the TIF other than to authorize advertisement of the TIF ordinance. And if you do that, and we're requesting that the advertisement of the ordinance for consideration and hopeful adoption would be on July 17th. David Unkovic, we're working together for the applicant, will go through the slides with you, answer any questions that you have, and then we hope that you'll authorize the advertisement. We have some things to tidy up between now and July 17th, which we will do, and then we'll be back here on that date. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Dave Unkovic with McNeese Wallace and serving as bond counsel on the TIF financing. And I've got a few slides here just to go through quickly. Some of these things that we had covered last month, so I'll go quickly through it. The first slide talks about the history of the project. And as you're all aware, that was the Florida industrial site. In 2010, a lot of the cleanup on the site was done and the foundation was put in. And that's the status of the project right now, so we're 9 years after that. But the developer has signed a letter of intent with Hamilton Lane as the main tenant, which happened in February of this year. So they're looking to start construction this summer and complete the building and have it occupied by the beginning of 2021. So that's the general schedule. And then, the impacts of the project, the Tower Bridge development's been a very successful component of Conshohocken Borough, and the signing of this letter of intent allows the last building in that series of projects to be completed. And this company is a very aggressive and interesting global asset management firm, and they're known as a very good employer, so there'll be a lot of young, diverse, highly skilled workers that'll be working in that building for the main tenant. So they're looking at approximately 800 high-wage jobs as a result of the project. Also, just generally as a TIF project, it assists in the removal of the blighted areas of the borough, and it supports the property values in that area and in the borough generally. It also generates additional tax revenues to the borough, and I'll go through some more numbers in a minute. But it does support, by having all these additional employees in the building and having a dynamic atmosphere there, it'll support the local businesses, including the restaurants, the bars, and the shops and so forth. Okay, so this is the financial impact of the project. These are numbers that I showed you the last time we were here, and then on the next page I've got some new numbers to show you, but just to review, this is the annual tax revenue from the project on an aggregate basis for all three taxing bodies. And then the annual payments made by each taxing body are at the bottom of the chart. So for the borough, it's 90% of the tax increments for about $128,000 a year. Okay, so those numbers are unchanged. In this new chart here, we tried to lay out in a little more detail the effect of this project on the borough of Conshohocken. So if the project does not go forward and the site's not developed, then as you can see on the top there, your tax revenues from the site would be about $10,000 a year. So looking out now 20 years into the future, if nothing ever happens, that you'd get about $200,000 in real estate tax revenues over that 20-year period from this site. If the project does go forward, then here you get annual tax revenues during the TIF period. So the TIF period would be the remaining 10 years, 19 to 2029. So the real estate taxes would be about $17,000 a year. But you also have, other taxes that would be generated from the site, including business privilege taxes, income tax, and local service taxes. So that and those numbers are based on conservative estimates. They are estimates, but we took a crack at trying to figure out exactly what the benefit would be to the borough. So that total tax revenue is $648,000 a year for the first 10 years of the 20-year period. When you get to 2029, the TIF ends, and any tax revenues generated at that point stay completely with the borough. So the real estate taxes would be $127,000 a year. So over the 20 years, if the project goes forward, you get about $1.5 million of real estate tax revenues from the site, as opposed to about $200,000 if it doesn't go forward. In addition, with these other taxes being generated by the employees and so forth, it would be about $14 million total over the 20 years from now till 2039. So I hope that was helpful. We tried to give you some numbers to flush that out. And then the final thing is the timeline. Ross went through the various approvals that have happened in the last month from the other taxing bodies and from the state. So all of that is in line, and we're having this public hearing today, which is required by the statute, and then we'll be coming back to the Borough Council on July 17 for an ordinance where you basically sign up for the project and approve the amended TIF plan. And then we're looking to close in July on the financing. Hope that was helpful. Do you have any questions? Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. So,
Somebody in the audience has a question.
Yeah, at this time, we do, because it's a public hearing, we do need to
public hearing.
take comments from
Okay,
the public.
public comment, does anyone have a question?
Please come up.
Would you come up and state your name and address for us, Mr. Kephart?
George Gephardt, 131 West 12th Avenue. My only question on the presentation was given, I just saw, unless I'm reading it wrong, without the TIF program, the tax revenue is $10,000 a year approximately. With the TIF program, the tax revenue is $200,000 approximately over 20 years. It's pretty much a wash, isn't it? I mean, it's $10,000 a year, and according to the program was just presented, it's $200,000 over 20 years. Am I reading it wrong?
I think Dave will probably explain it.
Okay.
There are additional
Stay right there. Let me
Sure.
just move back here. Okay, let me step
Yeah.
over here.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're right.
Annual?
Yeah, without doing the project, it's about $10,000 a year. So with the total of about $200,000 over the 20 years, right? Here, if you do the project, we're looking at two periods. The first 10 years, the TIF is in place.
Oh, okay.
The second
Okay.
10 years, the TIF is gone.
Okay, I'm
So on
sorry.
real estate taxes,
Right.
the net amount you keep is $17,000 a year for the
Okay.
first 10 years. So that's $170,000. And then it's $127,000 once the TIF ends for the next 20
Okay.
years. So that totals about $1.5 million.
Okay.
So those are the two
All right.
comparison numbers just on the real estate taxes.
No, that was my mistake because I thought that the 20-year total
Right.
was with the TIF project.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It just didn't look like
Right.
there was much difference between
Right.
the without and the with. So
Right.
that was my mistake.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
The other thing, Mr. Gephardt, just to point out, is we're already 10 years into the
The
TIF.
TIF.
So we only have 10 years left of the TIF. So we're not committed to the full 20 years from that. You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions? Would you mind coming up and stating your name and address for us, please?
Good evening, my name's Ed Zale, I live at 200 West Elm Street. Regarding the project, there's another $3 million, though, that you are, at least at the last meeting, that was what was discussed. There was $3 million that you were going to advance the company to build there?
Yeah, that's not part of the TIF.
That's not part of the TIF?
No, that's something that's not been negotiated yet.
Okay, but now, my question is,
Yes.
is the project, did Amerisource Bergen, did they need $3 million to go there? Did the borough have to go in for $3 million for them?
No.
What about the project that's across from the railroad tracks where they're going to put the $298 million?
No.
So why is it that this project, we're thinking about giving them an allowance of $3 million.
Just to be clear, the allowance is not $3 million, and it's not an allowance. It's a negotiation that we are potentially considering that is tied to some level of public parking, an accommodation that would be made on the developer's end.
And how many parking spaces, public?
The potential, if the negotiation goes through, would be around the 55 number.
And
And it's nowhere near the $3 million figure.
No.
It's not tied to public funds. It's actually part of a previous economic development grant.
Right,
So it's not tax dollars.
from back in 2008?
I believe that's the time frame. Correct.
And so it's not $3 million?
It's not 3 million.
So the 3 million that you're remembering
Yes.
was the ask
Right,
from the company?
right.
That was the ask.
Ask.
We're in negotiations to talk about that ask and how
Okay.
that could or would be looked at.
Now, did Amerisource Bergen, did they do anything about public parking?
Yes.
Yes.
Keystone, not AmerisourceBergen, and Keystone is the developer.
Right.
They are in their 12.5-tier parking garage, providing 150 public parking spaces to the Borough of Conshohocken.
Did they have an ask of anywhere near 300 million?
Well, the ask is not 3 million.
No.
Tina
We
said
asked-
it was.
Their ask.
Their ask is,
They
yes.
just said they're in.
No, they did
But I'm
not.
letting you know now, since you are concerned about the $3 million number, that is not an accurate number.
But that's what they asked,
Correct.
That is what
At the
the
last meeting.
developer asked.
right?
Yes.
And you're negotiating that.
Correct.
Did Keystone Property ask for $3 million?
They did not.
Not
Did
from,
they
not
ask
from the
the-
borough, no.
Not from the borough.
But there is significant grant money as part of that project.
All right. How about the luxury apartment complex? I think it's number one Main. Did they provide any public, are they going to provide any public?
We're not at that.
We're not even at that
They
phase
have
yet.
not even submitted land development.
Right,
Okay.
there's been nothing for that yet.
All right, so at the next meeting, or at the July 17th meeting, when Waste and Associates come before you, you by that vote, you will have determined how much, if any,
The plan
Of
is
that
that
$3
it has
million.
to be in place. It's one of the stipulations.
It has to be in place before yes.
so, but that meeting is that when you're going to vote on it, you will have already negotiated somewhere between 0 and 3 million.
You'll negotiate, but there has to be an agreement that's in place, so that will be a public discussion
Prior to the vote,
Correct.
prior to the vote.
okay. And the TIF, and is this the last TIF property in Conchie?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. But I walk there every day, and you said last week, or 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, that it's an eyesore. It really isn't. It's an open green space. It's really
Right.
not a public eyesore. You did make that comment, so. A lot of people walk there, and it's really not an eyesore. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's change the dialogue. It's not that it's an eyesore. This is an opportunity to make the location look better and make it fit in with what's already there.
Correct.
That you and your predecessors envisioned, and the developers, not just Mr. Pulver, have delivered. In addition, the $3 million and that sum of money is not a new feature to the development in Conshohocken. This goes back 20 years when the borough was able to obtain grant money from the federal government, and this is just a reuse of a small portion of that money.
Right.
So
Unfortunately, for some of us and our newer residents, it is a new thing, and that's why they're questioning it. It's not something that any of us were ever familiar with. So it's
Correct.
a legitimate
That's
question.
correct.
Yes. So,
And I'll speak kind of with what you were saying. I think the issue that rubs some of us is the word blight. We do not have blight in Conshohocken.
anywhere.
So the idea that the word blight is in writing
And reference.
is bothering some of our residents because there isn't blight. It really isn't.
We apologize for the use of the word blight, but that's a statutory word.
Correct.
And-
Understood, but
and
that word is
But no,
bothering.
I would be the last person, as a resident of West Conshohocken, who looks and comes to Conshohocken every week, and as a representative of Mr. Pulver, one of the developers in Conshohocken, to say that anything is blighted. And I agree with you 100%. There is no blight in Conshohocken. The statute likes to think there is, but there's clearly not. And we just want to finish and improve the site, that's all.
Right. Thank you, Mr. West. Does anyone else have any questions? Hi, would you like to come up to the podium, please? State your name and address, please.
My name is Amanda Lilick. I live at 109 Forest. For the parking, I just want clarification, because this is my new bandstand on this. Is the parking going to be metered for the public parking, or is it like you can park there, anybody can park there?
I don't know that we've necessarily gotten that far in that negotiation, so.
Now, I know that the Keystone Building, which is pretty much my area, like they're right on top of my house, dust and all. So my question is for that parking situation, our street is currently a permitted parking street. The traffic down there is outrageous. The parking out there is outrageous to the point where I have people that are coming out of town parking for more than 2 hours at a time, not leaving. And the residents, we used to use the garage mostly and mainly for inclement weather.
Right.
So my question is there going to be an allowance for residents of that area with a sticker, or even residents of the area, to be able to park in there at no cost? Because, I mean, it really is a problem down there. I know it doesn't necessarily go to this, but it does speak to the parking in Conshohocken. I mean, if you're going to give us spaces, should it necessarily be metered or not?
Should that be under the new parking?
So the
task
Keystone
force?
Garage,
Right.
which is done, that agreement's in place, that is metered. Are you asking about the new garage?
I'm asking about any
About
garage,
this?
anywhere that impacts my area.
With
because-
respect to this property, we have not had discussions regarding
Right.
metering or not metering.
Okay.
So your point is well timed.
Can it be added in there at some point? Because I'm just I'm very concerned about that, like altogether, because I have my children out there, the traffic, and school's coming out. And it's getting to the point where now I'm worried for their safety, and even there's a lot of, I'm all for country business, I'm all for all that, but there's a lot of alcohol involved where they're coming and they're parking on a street where there's residential families, and it's a concern for us in all matters with any parking over there, because, we're really close, and it's...
And I think that's something that the parking task force is also looking into.
We established a parking task force.
And they've been working very hard for all the different parking problems in the borough, especially the lower end.
Good.
So I know we spoke earlier.
Yes.
Really specific to the property.
Ours is mostly Keystone, currently.
Okay, but when we were talking earlier about El Caliente.
Yes, we are
So,
concerned about that, too.
And I don't know, we'll get to that on the agenda, but I think as far as what we're talking about with the parking task force, just that piece of it, and I've been trying to do the best I can to communicate out to the public, especially the residents in the first ward that are hit the hardest through this construction, that we put together a parking task force. We make sure that we went through a process to interview and to have a diverse group of people so that they represented different groups. So we have the chief of police that's on it. We have our borough engineer. We have some residents. We have business owners. We have somebody from planning.
Right.
Bob and I are on it. We've had a couple of meetings, and we recognize the challenge that's in front of us. There's no question about it. So that's why we've determined that we needed a team collectively to look at this. And our borough engineer right now, Brian Keaveney, is taking inventory of what we have. What's our situation? What availability do we have? What's happening down the road? It's something we're trying to look at from a very big picture and a several-year process.
Okay.
So it's important that you know that we are doing that as well as everyone else, and we can we'll talk more about that as we go down the agenda. I don't know if right now we're finishing the TIF discussion.
Right, we're finishing the TIF, and the last note on it is that for your immediate need, we will be working with Chief Metzger Police Department to see what we can do to alleviate some of that for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, because we did have more people come today. They came and they did their job checking those permits, except their permit, now they got somebody that's like a nanny, like she works there. So like even they said visitors now, it's an issue because we have a sticker, like a sign in the car, like working at 109 Forest, and now she got a ticket. I just want to nail down like exactly what.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's something we do need to work on
Yeah.
especially for your ward right now.
And,
And we will.
Amanda, we can talk certainly more about this, and I welcome you to come to our next meeting. We have
I'm going to
residents
see
that are
Steph.
on board already that are part of the community, but it's open to the public.
And
Thank
I
you.
think that Ms. Chego already reached out for you to
Did.
come in. Yes, so we can take it up, yes.
Yes, 145.
Okay, so
Thank
thank
you.
you very
Have
much.
to
Thank
be
you.
patient, it's not gonna happen overnight.
Trust me, I'm as patient as can be. I will keep up. I just want to follow through and make sure it gets done, and that's
And
it.
we appreciate it, and we understand.
I will.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone else have any public comment?
Just about to.
Okay.
Okay, so at this time, we would close out of the public hearing portion, and if council was so inclined, the motion would be to advertise the ordinance as presented to you in your packets.
Yeah, the motion is to authorize advertisement of Ordinance 5 of 2019 affirming the Seven Tower Bridge TIF district within the Borough of Conshohocken.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the active shooter emergency management drill update. Sergeant Michael Connor and Ray Sokolowski, Executive Director of Operations. Sergeant Connor?
Nothing, right? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council. My name is Mike Connor. I'm a sergeant with the Conshohocken Police Department. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present the scheduled active shooter drill that the emergency management team of Conshohocken had asked me to contribute in preparation coming up at the end of the month. When the emergency management team conducted a fire drill last year, they walked away with a pretty good feeling of they accomplished some goals about letting the community see in action some of the expectations that they have to make sure that their emergency services are conducting the job that they are entrusted to take care of. When they were trying to figure out how they were going to proceed for next year, they decided they were going to focus it not for the fire department, but for law enforcement. The topics with law enforcement are a little bit touchy and they're a little bit sensitive. You talk about terrorism, mass casualty incidents, bombs, explosives. So we wanted to keep it current, relative. Unfortunately, a topic like this is reoccurring, but we selected to do an active shooter drill. And that drill is going to take place at the Conshohocken Elementary School. Drill is going to take place on the 22nd of this month. The total event time is going to be from 7 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The actual drill itself will begin at about 8 o'clock in the morning and should conclude about 1 o'clock, trying to reduce the impact that we're going to have with the community. It's going to involve 7 law enforcement agencies in total. The local law enforcement agencies is Conshohocken, Plymouth Township, White Marsh Township, and West Conshohocken Police. We're also including the City of Philadelphia. They're going to be sending some support units, as well as the FBI are going to be coming and giving us a hand, and the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, as well as incorporating our services with EMS, the fire services, Public Works, and our county assets. The number one question I want to make sure that is being addressed is that all the safety protocols for a drill like this, law enforcement, we try to make sure that safety is one of our primary concerns. So during this drill on site, there will be no live firearms except for security officers who are maintaining that all the equipment is being taken care of, there's no thefts, anything of the like. We'll be doing double screens of every individual that goes into that facility, and once they come back out again, they'll be checked to make sure They will be visually marked, so we tape anyone that goes in. When they come out, the tape gets removed, and we'll double check when they come back in again. So no firearms, no edge weapons, nothing of the like. No projectiles are going to be used in this training, and although I will be referring to improvised explosive devices, no actual explosives will be on site. We will, however, be using blank fire cartridges, which are key for active shooters in that type of training. They are cartridges that do not have metal projectiles at the ends of it. All it is a piece of cardboard, and they're going to be in an area excluded from where the participants will be at. But it's very key that we actually have that sounded report of gunfire, which I can explain at a later time if you wish. So the drill is going to be separated into two stages. The first stage is going to be the first responders responding from their stations for a dispatch 911 call to an event at the school. The event will take place from dispatch time to about 12 minutes. Now, the positive response we have with the other law enforcement agencies, we have 30 patrol officers are going to be coming, as well as EMS. We have 30 role players that are going to be involved. The support staff, and the numbers are around 15. And then our emergency operations center will be activated and our command post. Altogether, it's a sizable amount of participation to the effect that we can reset that first stage. We're going to repeat it 3 times. So each time we go through, we're averaging around 10 police officers going to the simulation. Once they complete their mission, we're going to reset it and do it again. The drill is going to look similar to this, where we're going to have contact teams going through hallways, looking for the bad guys, and then neutralizing those threats. The role players are going to be mimicking like they have wounds. They're going to be also acting in the capacity of teachers, staff, parents responding to the school, and as well as the students who are going to be locked inside their classrooms. When we set up, we're going to have the fire, police, and EMS all at their respective staging areas, which are going to be their stations. And on dispatch, they're going to respond from their stations to the school itself. They will move from the locations and enter the main entrance of the school, and they're going to proceed and they're going to do the job that they've been trained to do. And we've been going through a lot of training this past year. About 120 officers from about 7 police agencies. We've been going to a school that hasn't been used anymore and practicing, rehearsing, and training for an event like this. So once they go through, if you see the floor plan, the bottom picture is the first floor of the elementary school. The event is not going to be specific to this, but we have an area of contact we're going to have on the first floor, a little bit down the hallway. Those rooms are going to be occupied by students and staff. We're going to have to address, as we've been trained to, whether it's attending to the wounded or start evacuations. After we repeat that 3 times, we're going to move to the second floor. So the second stage is going to be an extended event. What I mean by that is that we're going to introduce a second offender. That offender is going to put themselves and lock themselves in a room where we need specialized units to respond to it. So we're going to contain that offender, put them on the second floor, where we're going to have our SWAT team or the tactical units respond. Our patrol officers have a protocol we have to commit with until we've been relieved by SWAT. So we're going to be training for that event, making sure we're talking the same language, radio protocol. The improvised explosive devices are going to be in play, so that's why we have the bomb squad that's going to be coming. And then our command EOC and EOC are going to be communicating about giving us the equipment and supplies we need to manage that event. We also invited the local media. A news team is going to be coming, and they're going to be acting in their capacity. When I first introduced that the news would be coming, they kind of got some wide eyes. No one feels comfortable speaking to the news, but they will be there. They will act as they are required to, which will take away some of the attention that we're assigned to do. So in other words, it will distract us, and we have to plan for that and practice it. So they're going to be coming down with a crew team, a reporter, and they're going to be asking questions, trying to interfere with the jobs that we've been assigned. So the second stage will begin at the end of the 3rd iteration of the first stage, We're going to address the barricaded gunmen. We're going to address the explosives that have been left behind. And once we've been relieved as patrol officers, we're going to treat and evacuate those who are in the building. And that's where we start triage. So those who have been taken care of already, we're going to go and make sure that they've been evacuated. The EMS will work in tandem. The fire officers are going to be helping us out with that aspect as well. Some of the equipment you're going to see down there, we have Montgomery County's Emergency Operations Center is going to be sending their field comm, their command unit, like a real fancy RV. Bomb Squad's going to have their representation down there, and then the Philadelphia Aviation is going to be sending a helicopter, and I'll explain that right now. Part of the SWAT contingency is they're going to be coming in from the ground, and they're going to be coming by helicopter. They already planned out the route. They're going to be coming from the south, so from the river, and they're going to be taking a small team of SWAT operators, and they're going to put them on top of the roof at about that location. Once they're prepared, they're going to travel along the roof, and they gain access to a hatch on the roof. And you're going to see something similar to this. They'll hover above the roof. It takes about 15 seconds when they get near the structure. They'll disembark, and then they will proceed from there. So it's going to be 2 helicopters following each other. They're going to hover above the roof. They'll gain access and then continue on their way, and then join up with the other units that are going to be coming in from the ground. We're also going to have a video team come in through. They're going to record the training event so we have a chance to review, learn the lessons. We're going to make mistakes. It's a human element. There's always an unpredictable factor when you're dealing with people. So we'll have a chance to review the video, and we're going to disperse that amongst the other agencies that are coming to participate. Announcements they started being, what was it, last week? We started making announcements digitally. We're going to send out print through the newspaper, and we're also going to go door to door from the immediately affected areas and hand deliver notifications to the neighborhood that's immediately impacted for the area that we'll be working in. This was a 2-hour presentation cut down in 5 minutes.
You did great.
So if you have any questions about some of the things that might have glanced over, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you.
Yeah.
Council is encouraged not to act in official capacity, but to at least please observe what we're going through.
Yes.
I always think that physical presence and information gathering, so you have an opportunity you'll be getting questions from your constituents, and there's nothing better than being able to see it firsthand.
How long did it take to prepare that? Like the whole
It started in December.
December?
Mr. Sokolowski asked me to generate an idea. I couldn't talk highly enough about having that much time to prepare to this. Every single agency I'd spoken with was highly interested in participating, to the point that I had to tell the Pennsylvania State Police that 3 helicopters was too much, so
Right.
maybe next year we'll
Right.
have that come down. Yeah, so there's a lot of participation. We just don't have enough room. So we tried to make sure that we're taking care of our primary responders from our neighboring agencies. Those are in our school district, and the ones we're closest with had
Right.
first priority on it.
Right.
So it's a several-hour event. How does that work for spectators? People just, if they want to go, and how's that?
There will be, we have it planned to have an area where you can observe. All right? It won't be completely cordoned off like a crime scene, because we don't have a real crime scene. So we do want the public to be near. They won't be able to walk in with us, because anyone, and the role players that are coming in, we're screening all of them as far as making sure that we're not having people of questionable character inside. So we can't have just anybody walking in, because we're responsible for the volunteers. And a lot of them are minors, so under 18. So we have a certain responsibility with that. As far as the public streets goes, we're going to make sure that they're having a viewing opportunity where they're not, 3 blocks away. They'll be able to probably get within a block of the operating area. There are also that RV that I had shown you, they actually have a viewing screen, so we can actually move that so they can see it. Where normally it would just be protected
Right.
where it's just law enforcement looking at it, we can actually move that so they can watch if they get obstructed, so.
He's a very humble man, which is a good trait to have. He's been working on this for 6 months daily, while coaching a hockey team, running his squad, every day, or shift work. It's been a lot of work, and at this point, it can't be a failure. It's already a success.
Right.
And it's because of what he did and the time that he put in, and the people that helped him along the way.
Great job.
Did you get approval from the school? Did they have to have like a screening or make sure that they were like up to?
The school board, they had a new administration takeover, and they're highly interested in incorporating law enforcement in these kind of emergency operation drills. They were thrilled to have this event happen. Actually, the week before, we're doing a similar tabletop exercise with the superintendent and the school board.
So just like said, she was in Conshohocken Elementary, it was just like, here's where it's happening?
Well, that was this is the Conshohocken drill, so we wanted to make sure that it was taking place in there. And the first person I called was their school safety director, and he was, yeah, no problem. Let me get over.
The school always has a lot of police officers in presence all the time, so I'm just curious.
Well, that was the one thing, was make sure it was 10 days after school closed, so that was the only stipulation, was let's not do it during the school year.
Good thought.
Are any of the faculty from Conch Elementary going to be participating?
No.
Mrs. Costa, like.
The first thing I was told was that there was concern of contracts, and maybe if there was a slip and fall, you would have a workman's comp issue. We've actually had teachers from other schools that are going to be coming, volunteering, so they don't have that same stipulation. But yeah, like my daughter is going to be coming, and she's on her 3rd year at St. Joe's to be a teacher. So she's coming with some of her student friends that are going to be coming and acting as teachers, as well as some from all of the neighboring school districts.
Sergeant Connor, I know that we're going to notify the residents. One of the things that I want to make sure that we notify are any of the businesses around there as well of what's going on, just because there may be some effect to that.
We have talked to the immediate businesses, such as the bank.
Okay.
Right.
There is a wedding that's going to occur.
There is.
So we're going to make sure that we are not in the way, or at least
Great.
maybe getting their
right,
wedding
thank
pictures.
Who's in charge of that? She's handling that wedding.
Kate. God bless Kate.
The road closure, there will be a complete road shutdown at the very first start. So at 8 o'clock, there will be a road closure for about maybe 5 minutes tops, and then the whole scene will be reduced just to the area around the school.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? All right, let's just give another hand for Sergeant Connor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the PSAB Awards for Kate Cosman, our Communication Manager. Kate, if you could come up. There she is.
Now it's weird being out here.
In
I
the
don't like
booth.
it. Yes, so the PSAB, they do a annual communication contest, and the borough submitted their newsletter, website, and Facebook this year. And we won first place for the newsletter category, second place for our website, and third place for our social media, which specifically was our Facebook page. Our accomplishments, they're going to be recognized at their award ceremony, which is done at their annual PSAB conference. And that is actually next Tuesday, June 11th. And I'll be there representing the borough.
As you should be.
Yeah. I did want to say thank you to council and to staff for your ongoing guidance and support for my role as communication. manager.
Well, you're
thank
quite
you.
welcome, and we appreciate all your hard work. Kate, you do a great job, and it is a well-deserved award for you.
Thank you.
So,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Don't move. I'm just gonna, since she's never out in public, which I know she loves, she's usually in the back room recording these meetings, I just take a thank you. So you've kind of flourished and grown over the last couple of years, and I know that we're all very grateful for everything that you do. A lot of it goes unnoticed and it's in the background, but you basically are pushing out the information from the borough, and you're doing a great job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So it was the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs. Throughout all of Pennsylvania, Kate won those 3 awards for Conshohocken.
Good job, Kate.
Good job, Kate. The next item on the agenda is a hearing regarding a waiver of off-street parking for 126 Fayette Street. Ms. Stetler?
Would you like to put this up too? Yeah, we can put this up at the same time.
Do you want to go to the podium?
No, they want to hook up.
Okay.
This is what Brittany told me to do. So.
Okay, then by all means.
Yes.
Thank you, Brittany.
In the unique situations of Conshohocken, this is one of the most unique that we've run across. You're being asked to consider a waiver of off-street parking for the property at 126 Fayette Street. The new prospective owners of this property wish to establish a cigar lounge on the 2nd floor. And this is a permitted use in the business commercial district, but the property has very limited off-street parking. Much of it is divided between this building and Flacco's. So in order to begin operation of the cigar lounge, they will need a waiver of off-street parking. You're also being asked to consider tonight the zoning application for 129 Forest Street. This is the property that is directly behind 126 Fayette Street. The uniqueness of this is that the 2 properties are in different zoning districts. So while the cigar lounge is permitted by right in the business commercial district, the developers of this would like to demolish the existing structures on 129 Forest Street and construct a parking lot, which would service the cigar lounge. A parking lot is not an independently by right activity in the Borough Residential 1 zoning district. So an application for zoning has been submitted for both the use and design elements of a parking lot. And the zoning hearing is scheduled for the 17th of June. So you would be asked to consider whether you would want to support that application. Owner is here, the developer is here to answer any questions you might have on this.
How many spaces are you going to get? The home behind, you're going to take the home behind down?
We're trying to do as many spaces as we can. We totally understand. I mean, my name is Joe Giorno. Thank you, Council, for allowing us to come here today. I'm one of the partners in Cigar Republic, but I'm also a partner with Sean Tamaro in Entourage Elite Real Estate. So I understand the Conshohocken Borough. I understand the challenges. And when we decided, after a long time of looking for a building in an area like this and wanting to do this for a long time, we knew that one of the things we would like to do is add parking, because we know that there's a challenge everywhere. And hearing it tonight, we want to come with a solution, not just give you the same answers everybody else does when they come for a waiver of parking. We wanted to come with a solution, and right now that property is a rental property, so it does produce revenue, but we feel that the parking lot outweighs the revenue production that it produces for us as owners of the building, and we feel that the borough needs it. So along with the other spaces, I think that we're talking about putting in front of the space. So we maximizing the space, putting nice buffering, taking care of it, putting fencing, making it landscaped appropriately. We would probably get 18 spaces, and that includes a handicap space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to...
You are the owner?
I will be the owner of the property.
You will be, you're not the owner now.
No, that's why one of the reasons we're here this evening. So tomorrow, as of tomorrow, I will be going for putting my final deposit down on the property. We've been doing due diligence for 3 months and putting that all together, and we have everything in place now. This is the final step, and we were waiting for to come here tonight to hopefully get that waiver of parking so I can put my final deposit down. Just to start with a couple things, what we also wanted to give you is an idea. There's 2 businesses on the top floor of the building right now. One's an interior decorator. The other one is State Farm Insurance. So there are employees there now. We approximately, what we're looking to do is to take the space, buy the building, enhance the building, do some things to it, and I'll go over those things with you tonight. We have a concept plan we put together. I was asked to put a concept plan together, a drawing, a floor plan, to put some ideas about a parking lot. Also, on the external side of the building, there's some signage that some people like, some people don't, but we wanted to look at the building and enhance it. We don't feel that right now it goes along with all the other buildings that everybody has put so much money into the building. We would like to make it more attractive with signage and awnings and things like that. So I'll go over that this evening with you just briefly too. These are all brief things, and show you drawings. And I did provide everybody with a floor plan. These 2 drawings that I have right here. So everybody you'll have a copy of both of these. You also have a copy of the signage that I'm going to go over this evening. One that conforms and the other one that may require a variance. If you like it, it's up to you. I'm going to put it all back in your hands on that decision. We've been planning this for a long time. We have 2 other locations right now, one in upstate New York and also in Connecticut. So this is a proven entity. Nothing like here. This is our neighborhood. This is where we're from. So this is something we would like to do here, and it will be a very high-end product. It's going to be very beautiful. We're going to spend a lot of money on the building. We're going to spend a lot of money on the inside, and also to attract, hopefully at some point get a rooftop deck. Hopefully at some point attract a clientele, husbands, wives, live entertainment at some point, make it nice, have a destination for people to go, not just a place for people to hang out. That's not what we're looking for. If anybody's been to cigar lounges in other areas, I've traveled all over the country. I've seen them all. This is something that we're going to spend a substantial amount of money. If you've been to the Ashton Club in Philadelphia, this will be nicer than that. So I can tell you that for sure. But what we wanted to do this evening is I wanted to give you an idea of what we're looking to do and what we want to do with the building, and since we're in the neighborhood. If you look at I also wanted to go over, there's a 3D concept I'll go over, but the hours of operation will be normal in the area, 10 to 12, it's probably Sunday through Thursday, and then on the Thursday through Saturday nights will be till 2. It will have alcohol. We will be open for that, and we will have some food services that will be provided from Caliente downstairs, so we'll be working with them. Employee information, we don't need a lot of employees. We probably only need about 6 employees in the building at the maximum at its busiest time. It's not going to be maybe 8 at the max if it's busy. The way we have it set up and we structured the floor plan, it should be sufficient, so it's not going to require a lot more people that work there right now. So in the buildings that are there now, it's about 4 to 6 people that I see walking around in those buildings as we are. So the impact is not as substantial. But the one thing we wanted to do is take the impact off the street. There's there's no places to park. So we kept looking at it, and we want our people. We don't want everybody walking. I could say, well, we're gonna bus them in from the parking lot down the street. They're gonna park in the Morrisburg. That doesn't work. We have to start bringing more parking up in that area to allow people to walk closer to their business where they're going to be going and supporting. So one thing, if you allow me, the first drawing is a concept drawing. This is a drawing that is an actual floor plan that we put together. We spent a lot of money already to put this together, and I wanted to put this together for you so you understand. These are just all concepts of different cigar bars and different establishments that I've been to, that I've taken this information and put it all together and said, okay, someday my dream's going to have this high-level facility like this that a husband and wife or somebody would want to go and attend. It's got a game room, it's got live entertainment, it's got piano, it's got jazz, it's got a private area, public area, it's got a meeting room. I know Mercersburgans coming into town, if they want to have a meeting in a place like this, they can. There's going to be opportunity to do the things they have here. The other thing that we're looking at is this is an actual concept, the actual drawing that we put. It's just a drawing, right? It will be a lot nicer than this. This is as good as I can do on short notice. But if anybody would like to see that, But if you're looking at that, the one thing we wanted to do with it, and I wanted to go over the plan, and Steve's going to present the actual plan tonight. I know that it's on two different parcels, but for me, it's one purchase. So I have to buy both properties at the same time. And we knew as soon as we were buying this property that we wanted to do that with that forestry property because of the impact in the areas around and the need. So that's why I'm here this evening, to present that to you and answer any questions that you have to help ease your mind on ways that, and get feedback on ways that we can enhance the project to make it easier to listen to anybody's questions in the area. So if there's any questions for me, I'll be happy to entertain them.
I'll ask a question. What do you think occupancy would be for that space?
It's most of the people that come in there, it's going to be seating. So the seating, we haven't really figured it out. Now, I think by conforming, it's rated at holding 218 people. Based on the square footage and everything, would we ever have 218 people in the cigar lounge? I don't think so. So I would hope so, but I don't think we will. But
So I don't know much about cigar lounges. How long do patrons generally stay at a cigar lounge? Do they smoke a cigar and leave? It's not like turnover of tabletops. So I'm trying to.
So I've been in a lot of places where they call it a lounge, and they basically people sit there all day. This is not that type of lounge. This is not like a hangout spot where guys are sitting on the street or hanging out in front of a building. This is an actual establishment where they'll be able to get some bar food. They'll be able to have a drink. They'll be able to have a meeting. They'll be able to sit there and for a couple of hours after dinner or before dinner or things like that. So maybe a couple of hours. I mean, a cigar at the most is a couple of hours.
So can you describe how you see the parking lot? In, out, like a description?
We have it, Steve's going to talk about that next, and, so he'll be able to handle that, show you an exact drawing of what we did. We already laid it out with all the buffering, with all the variants needed, everything that's in there. So Steve will be happy to go over that with you, the engineer.
Does anyone have any more questions before we hear the engineer?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Tabakelis. I'm from All County and Associates, and I will unveil the plan here in a couple minutes. Everyone's excited to see. My screen is dead. Let's see.
Ooh, that looks nice.
Yeah, we're going to put a parking lot on top of that hill right there.
It's in the river.
Floating parking lot. Is that right?
Okay. All right. Before I show the parking lot sketch, let me just give you a little bit of just if people haven't been out there on site or aren't that familiar with it. What you're looking at here this is 129 Forest Street. This would be the building that we would be looking to take down, ultimately to put the parking lot on. Here I am standing at the intersection of 2nd Avenue and Forest Street. I'm looking directly south. I'm facing south towards 129 Forest Street. So this is property 1, we'll call it. Now I'm standing on 2nd Avenue looking kind of southwest, and you can see over here is Forest, or I'm sorry, is 129 Forest Street, and then out here is the 126 Fayette Street. So what's pretty interesting here is you see how it's a pretty steep hill, as everyone's probably aware, and we are ultimately looking to put the parking lot up here, and then ultimately we would like to bridge across to gain rooftop access. So that's kind of what makes this a very interesting project. Last picture to show. This is standing on Forest Street, looking at the side of 129 Forest Street. So you can see it does abut another residential property, and this is just a view of, I think, looking southeast at the property. Let's see. Looking at a zoning map. Zoom in. So, as you are aware, we are here for variances. We do have to obtain several variances to make the parking lot work. As you can see here on the zoning map, we call out 129 Forest Street, which is actually located in the BR1 zoning, which is a residential zoning district. And then we have 126 Fayette Street, which is located in the BC zoning, which is a commercial zoning. You can kind of see that the zoning map is sort of odd in respects to the fact that the BR1, which again, that's a 129 Forest, is where it is. It kind of is isolated. It kind of juts out and just so happens to be kind of our issue, and that's what we are facing. There's a reason that we're asking for the variances, because we're trying to make a parking lot work in BR1 zoning. So now to the plan. Let's go to existing features first. So it might be a little hard for everyone to see. I guess at the zoning hearing board, I will provide color renderings of this to make it a little bit easier. So this outlined area, this outlined portion is the existing structure. There's an existing walkway, existing structure, and I just wanted to point out that it's an existing multifamily structure. It's a three-unit rental, which is an existing non-conforming use in BR1 zoning. So it is already an existing non-conforming use. And then on top of it, the building setback line is this square area here, 25-foot front yard setbacks and 25-foot rear yard setback. So you can see the structure, which is way out in this area, goes well beyond the current building envelope. So there are numerous non-conformities on this property. So this would be the parking lot. This is what we are proposing to do on this lot. Again, we're looking to take down the existing structure, obviously, and then we are going to manage to get 9 parking spaces, kind of fronting on Second Avenue, and then we have actually 8 spaces here. We originally had 9, but we realized that we had to get an ADA space. So it's a total of 17 parking spaces, not 18 parking spaces.
Sorry about that.
Again, that was because one of the parking spaces would be needed for the striping. I wanted to point out that we do have a residential lot directly adjacent to our property. We're going to do everything we can to keep those folks happy. We do call out a 6-foot minimum height white opaque fence. We will do anything that, within reason, we can work with them to make sure that there's not going to be an eyesore, hiding the parking lot as much as possible. We do call out lights. As of right now, it's just in a conceptual phase. So we just have the symbols for the lighting, but obviously we will have to do the lighting calcs, making sure we're not casting in any lights off of the parking area. So all of that will ultimately be looked at as we go through the standard process. I also wanted to point out, like I had said, we have a bridge to bridge across to the rooftop of 126 Fayette Street, and it just so happens that the roof elevation over there is 172.9, and the first floor elevation of the existing house is 173.3, so it's about half a foot lower. So I mean, we can definitely make grades work as we're altering grades in the parking lot to get it to bridge across to have a rooftop access. So again, I think it's gonna be pretty cool. I'm an engineer, so I find things like that cool. What else? Let's see. Guess that's kind of it for the plan. Anybody have questions on it right now, or should I just start hitting the variances?
So I'm
Yes.
lowballing this. Say you're paying, and you probably calculated this. I'm lowballing, you paid $300,000, which is probably not right, it's probably a lot higher. Divided by 17 spaces, that's $17,647 a space. It's a lot of money for parking.
Tell me about it. My partner said the same thing to me,
And we appreciate it, we need all the parking we can in town.
Listen, that was the whole thing we said, it's the need is there, right? I mean, and everybody talks about it every day, and I'm sure every meeting it gets talked about, and this was our real solution. to try to help. In knowing that we were getting this, and it is a lot of money, and, but we think that it's worth the financial addition to the building and to the envelope, to do that for the area, because there's not much space left. Where are we gonna put more parking?
Nowhere.
I would put a parking garage if I could.
I got a place where you can put one.
Oh, dear.
The house that you're demolishing to put in this garage, that is an old home, no doubt. I know there's definitely placards out front for some sort of history. Is there any history to that house? Do we have any sort of historical backing in that house from Conshohocken we're going to tear down and put in a parking garage for?
There is, I have noticed.
The American Legion.
World War I American Legion building.
So that's what 1928. We're going to take that down and put in a parking spot. And I just want to make sure I'm reading that right. The second question, I'm sorry, is that the exit is on Forest Street, right? Not out to Second? You're
Correct.
Exiting to Second. You're putting the traffic to go down a one-way street down Forest, which we've already heard from a resident who lives on Forest has issues with the traffic as it is. So that is the plan?
Yes, it is taken.
They come up and see who they are. Okay, they need to come up and see who they are. They just can't talk. Yeah, she said we can do public comment, but they need to come up. If council.
If someone would like to do a public comment, they're going to need to come up one at a time to the podium, give your name, address, and question.
Yeah, I mean, that's my name on the sheet, so, I don't even know where to start. I'm right here, Steve Hormel. I live right here, 123 Forest Street. Look, the block in general has been having a lot of problems with the growing pains of the city, right? And, we all talk, quite a few of us showed up here today based on no proactive notification, right? I mean, luckily we heard about it and there was a lot of text flying and really trying to determine what's happening. I think, talking to a lot of the neighbors, I think we all are willing to have short-term pain for long-term benefit for the town, right? I think that what they're doing at the bottom of the hill is incredibly disruptive to us. But long-term, looking at how the city's growing, I think that there's some positive benefit to it, right? We're gaining parking spaces, we're gaining more restaurants, more attention to town, and hey, a Fortune, 20 company in the Fortune 500 coming to Conshohocken. It's great. More jobs. And I think that that's, when you really kind of benefit or look at the, cost benefit on this, 8 jobs for the town, dumping a tremendous amount of more burden at the top of our sheet that we already have at the bottom. Is it going to be free parking for the town, or is it going to be your business gets priority over the town? That's the first question.
I would probably say that it will have to be for the business.
Sure.
For Caliente and
Sure.
for the
Okay.
tenants of the building.
Fair. So overall, what you're saying is that we're going to make a zoning variance that really has a primary benefit for the business owner and not the community. So I do challenge that. I mean, I agree. Parking's a problem. We're going to talk about it. But it's a short-term problem, right? I think if we look at it over the long-term goals of what this project's supposed to be doing for us at the bottom of the hill, we're gaining parking to enable more walkable Conshohocken where people can come in, go out, go to the restaurants. Hopefully more retail will come with this as well. But we're going to tear down a 100-year-old building to add 18 parking spots that people might get access to maybe. It doesn't really seem like it really is benefiting the town overall. Right? I looked up, it's not quite spot zoning, but, there's an argument to be had, right? Because you're making a variance change that's for the benefit of a business owner. If it was something more for the community, then I would say maybe there's a case there. The other question I have to ask for those looking at this is they recently blocked off 2nd Avenue going down, right? And overall, I'm okay with it, right? I mean, my commute out of Conshohocken has doubled over the last year with, no longer being able to make a left at the end and can't go down the hill there. I know a lot of my 2nd Avenue neighbors have been affected by that as well. But what I was told was the reason it was being done is so they could figure out what to do about that space, right? The road at the bottom is atrocious, which we know, needs repair. I don't know if that's progressed in looking at what it's going to take to repair that or not, but is obviously an issue. I've heard various plans about turning that into a complete green space, making it more usable for the community, larger parking, eliminating the traffic up both ends. Well, what does this plan do to that, right? Because now, you're changing the traffic pattern up there, in a vacuum from making that other decision that does have a broader community benefit if we make it a more usable space. So I don't know how much factoring that's been into to what this is being proposed here. Or I guess it's just being proposed, so I guess something to factor as you're considering it. I don't know what else to say on it, right? I mean, I think it's shocking because, looking at, we've lived on the street for 17 years, right? Owned for 15. We love Conshohocken. We love the changes that have happened to it. We, love our neighbors, and to know we can call upon people to come together and to figure out what's going on. But we all have a kind of an expectation that we're in a residential zone, right? It's tough enough smelling cookies on the street because I can now smell insomnia from my house. Cigar bars, not as appealing, but to be honest, that's your right to use, right? Don't agree with it. I think it's kind of a crazy business proposition as I hear what you're saying, but that's your right and that's your zoning, and I'm okay with that, right? Rooftop bar, I'll be at meetings. We'll have to see, because the pub said they were only going to run till 11 o'clock. They run a lot later, right? But it's not disruptive. It's across the street. This would be literally looking into my bedroom. So a little more concern there. But overall, look, you have the right to the proposal, and I look forward to more dialogue about it, learning more about the project. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good thing you went first.
Betsy Horning, 404 East 10th Avenue. I won't belabor the parking issue because I'm going to do that later on. Are you going to get a liquor license?
We will have a liquor license.
Will it be yours or the restaurant downstairs?
The restaurant downstairs.
So they'll be ordering drinks and bringing them up?
No, we'll have a bar. We will have a liquor license and a management agreement with them for the building.
And you really think patrons are only going to stay an hour or two?
I can't tell them how long to stay, but I don't know how long they stay at the American Pub.
Because I smoke cigars, I go to cigar lounges. My husband and I were just at one today. We stay for hours on end, and I can just see people staying there for 8 hours drinking and then coming outside. My second issue, where are you going to vent your smoke? As that other gentleman said, Conshohocken's becoming a walking town. So if the smoke's going to have to be vented outside, then all the walkers are going to, who may not care for cigar smoke, are going to have to smell it.
This is a second floor space, so it will be vented out of the rooftop, so it won't be a low vent.
Right into your bedroom window, right? And how does the restaurant feel? That smoke could come through the floor. Are you going to put any barriers or anything? Absolutely. And then for you residents, I feel sorry for you because I'm going to be talking about the parking variances. I don't know why you have a parking ordinance because from what I understand, zoning just approves the variances anyway. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Harvey?
Harvey Butte, 103 West 2nd Avenue. I live right across the street as the cars will exit the parking lot. My first question actually would be to council. You closed 2nd Avenue 90 days ago, and you were supposed to revisit it as far as what you were going to do with it, according to the letter that we received. Have you revisited, and where do we stand with the closure of 2nd Avenue?
It has not been revisited as of yet. It is part of our, it's included in part of our plan for the streets.
Okay.
So I think when we get a better grasp on that by the end of this year, we should have a better idea of what we can do with that.
So this will not be revisited for another 6 months or so, is what I understand you saying?
Unless the administration has had any ideas on that?
So we've extended the temporary 90-day for an additional 90-day to evaluate. It's specifically for the construction.
Okay, so another 90 days, we can maybe hear something, or?
The next time it will be up for consideration again would be in August.
Okay. My next question would be to the parking lot itself. We have what is the impervious coverage?
91.9%.
And we have 60% impervious coverage in that area, correct, Chris?
That is correct.
Correct.
Okay,
And
so,
that is one of the
That's one of the
variances that has been requested.
so that's another one of the variances, which then would allow you, of course, to get the additional parking spots, because otherwise you're only getting about 10.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Maybe
It
11.
would be a whole lot less.
Yeah, a whole lot less.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Hello, Derek Jelinek, 119 Forest Street, a couple houses down from Steve and Ann. I just wanted to ask a couple questions regarding sound and noise. As was noted earlier, there's a lot of alcohol in our neighborhood. A lot of people parking on the street, utilizing those bars, and certainly I'm not a person to decry the use of alcohol. But there is a lot of noise. We have small children. As Steve had noted, we hear the pub at night. They're open till 1 a.m. They're supposed to be 11 p.m. And the idea of even just this parking lot in our neighborhood and people coming out of a bar, drinking till 2 a.m., that noise is going to be heard in my house. And I'd like to know what accommodations are being made to address that noise. Is this going to be a covered lot? Is there going to be soundproof barriers? What accommodations are going to be made for that? I don't know if you have an answer for that.
Fencing, we do call out fencing here on this lower half, so it's going to be a 6-foot tall
Is it a
fence.
soundproof fence?
I mean, we put it this way, we do not have anything figured out as far as the fence goes. So, I mean, that's something we obviously are willing to work with.
Okay.
So, I mean, we obviously are not going to put slats through it that you're going to be able to see right through. It's going to be a solid fence.
Okay.
It's going to hide everything. As far as sound goes, that's going to help to buffer the sound. The sound could go up and over.
Yeah, as an engineer, I know they also make products for that, and that's not been evaluated as well.
Well, at this point, no.
Okay, got it.
What you see is as far
Okay.
as we've gone. It's
Okay.
it's a picture.
Sure. And my second question is regards to the smoke. What is this? Is there a state-of-the-art technology for treating that smoke, and what is it, and are you planning to employ it?
Absolutely. So that'll be our number one expense. So a lot of cigar lounges, I have one in my house. So I have state-of-the-art equipment in my home. I put one in, and it's in the center of my home, and no smoke goes anywhere but in that room. So there'll be charcoal units throughout the facility that cleans the air. So the amount that goes out, the air is going to be cleaned continuously. Most importantly, that's number one. There will not be smoke in there. We won't have a lounge that there's going to be tons of smoke. We wanted it taken out of the facility as much as possible, but cleaned before it's taken out. So the air that leaves the building is cleaned air.
Okay.
And most of the smoke will have units throughout with charcoal filter systems. I have one in my house. It's 40 pounds of charcoal per unit.
You said most of the smoke or all of the smoke?
Well, I mean, I can't tell you how much smoke will be leaving, but if you stand, I have direct vent outside my house, and if I have 6 guys in there watching a football game and they stand outside my house where the direct vent goes out, you can't smell it. So, because it's already been cleaned before it's gone out. So.
And I assume you'll provide the design calculations for those smoke, that technology and how it's being used and employed based on the amount of smoke being generated and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
and present that to council for
the most important thing you're
review.
bringing up as an owner of it, I'm bringing up the same thing because I've been in cigar lounges where I sat in there and I left smelling terrible, and then I've been in other cigar lounges where I left and didn't smell at all. We're going to design it so you can come in there and leave and not smell like you've been sitting in a smoke-filled mess. We won't want it any other way.
Sure. Okay. And then I guess my last question is for council. Is there an ordinance regarding historic buildings that requires maintenance and sort of limits the demolition of those buildings? I'm unfamiliar with all the township or the borough ordinances. I'm just curious if that is a standing ordinance.
There is a historical ordinance pertaining to buildings and the tearing down of single-family homes. In this instance, this building is not a single-family home, so it does not apply.
Okay, thank you.
Nor is the property on the National Register.
Okay.
That was going to be one of my questions.
No, the property is not on the historic register. I can't say for certain whether it was identified as a potential historic resource or not, but it has multiple units in it now.
Chris, can you speak up again?
Sorry. This would not fall under Section 19C of the zoning ordinance, as Stephanie stated. There are multiple units in this building and have been in this building for some time, so it is not a single-family. It's a detached building, but it is not a single-family dwelling, which is what Section 19C of the ordinance covers.
That actually leads me to another question then. Is this residence, this non-single-family home, I heard the term non-conforming. Is it non-conforming because folks modified this resident to not comply, or was that accepted through some zoning variance approved by council or the zoning board? Just curious if we're just saying, well, they weren't following the rules for all this time, so now it just doesn't matter. It's not a single-family home. Should it be a single-family home? Was that approved by the borough to not be a single-family home?
I can't say that when this exactly became two or more units. There has been some indication that units were shut off. Before 2001, two-family detached dwellings were permitted by right in the borough, in that particular zoning district, which at the time was R1.
Okay.
When the zoning ordinance was revised in 2001, the R1 and R2 districts were combined because they both had similar types of housing in them. And in that particular district, only single-family detached housing and single-family semi-detached housing is permitted by right. Now, if you drive around those districts, you're going to see row houses or, old row houses or, little townhomes. The property in question may not have needed a variance when it became two dwellings.
Okay. Does council know the answer to the question?
We would have to research that.
It's
up to me.
Got it.
Thank you.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Excuse me, what was the impervious coverage, 90 what?
91.9.
91.9.
Can you come back up again? There's one at a time here. Go ahead, somebody. Good evening.
Chris Pfeiffer, 121 4th Street, between Derek and Steve. Just want to express a few thoughts here. One, just finding out about this meeting and this project from my neighbors, from a text, a little notice from, advance notice that this project was going on would have been, appreciated. Just finding out from my
Chris,
neighbors.
can you touch on the notice?
I'll address the notice qualification. This is not the zoning hearing, all right? Council reviews all of our zoning applications before they go to the zoning hearing board. We have no requirement to do notices for council consideration because council has the option of either supporting the application, not supporting the application, or taking no action. This was listed on the agenda for this property. I believe that within the next week you will receive formal notice of the zoning hearing for this project, which will be held on the 17th of June. And I believe that notice I believe the notice either has gone out today or will be out in the mail tomorrow. So you will receive it. That's what's required by law. We are required to notify for the zoning hearings. We are not required to notify residents of projects when council is simply going to review the application to determine their position on it.
I just know when Second Street was shut down between, Forest and Fayette, we received stuff in the mail and everything like that. For this, in this case, we didn't receive any of those.
So this is the first time we're all hearing about it,
in the next case,
too.
okay, so I just.
So we're all in the same boat.
We're all in the same boat, okay,
Yeah.
okay, no problem. And then as far as the roof deck goes, I just want to express, Derek's sentiment too, as far as the pub. We certainly hear all that noise coming in directly into my bedroom, every single night. I'm supportive. I love roof decks. I love going out on them. Just want to make sure that if there are plans for a roof deck, that any thing that you can do to contain that noise or put it out going towards Fayette Street and as opposed to going back to Forest Street, because it is a problem for us that even on a weeknight or on a weekend, if you leave your windows open, you're hearing that conversations, even the music. You can hear people talking loud and clear going right across the street. So for any considerations, if there is a roof deck there for noise,
we'll be happy to look into anything. I love them too. I get exactly what you're saying behind you. So I'm taking that very seriously, what you're saying. So if there will not be a bar on the rooftop, I don't want a bar on the rooftop. It's more of an area just to sit and relax, and it's not gonna have bar seats and that type of thing. It's just gonna be more of seating, more seating.
It's also, exterior sound systems are not permitted in the business commercial district. So if the pub is doing that, I'd really like to talk to you about that.
You can hear when the Sixers game in the playoffs are on, I could hear the
Well, that's not
play-by-play.
not necessarily a
It's
music sound system.
Well,
so.
it's coming from the TV, which is.
Let's limit the
that's sensitive.
conversation this evening
But-
to the application at hand.
And the roof deck is a future project for the
Right,
site.
I just
It's
want to
not
make it
something
aware
that's
that
being
it would be a
considered now.
concern that, we already have problems with the roof deck across the street, so putting one even closer to us would be more of a concern. Thank you.
Noted, thank you.
Thank you. One more. Oh, two more.
Jeff Devler, hi, 108 Forest Street. I feel like all my neighbors have shown up tonight because of this. You talk about the rooftop deck, I kind of just have two questions. The rooftop deck, are you going to allow cigar smoking on the roof?
Yes.
Would that be the idea behind it? So no filtration, just out into the neighborhood, into my neighbor's windows? There's nothing to stop that, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. The other concern, and it's a pretty big concern of mine, is the exit onto Forest. Every single house on that street has a child under the age of 7. They're all over the place, and you're going to open a bar that exits onto our street to deposit cars to drive down our street. They're going to be in this establishment for 2 hours, for 6 hours from some. What do you think they're doing? They're drinking, and they're getting in the car, and they're driving. Down our street, our residential street, and that is where I probably have the biggest problem with this ordinance. I mean, I appreciate that you're trying to open a business, but I don't think, and even from a zoning, you're putting it in the C1 district. Can you put a garage in the C1 district? Because from the graph that you showed originally, it looked very residential. I don't know of any other garages that are in that zone. So is that even allowed, or is that part of the ordinance that you're requesting to put a parking garage in a residential neighborhood?
First of all, it's not a parking garage.
Okay, a parking.
You are correct that it is in a residential district. In
Okay.
2001, when the ordinance was revised, there was a distinct effort made to keep residential properties in residential districts, which is why it's not a straight line down Forest Street. As far as other independent parking lots in that area, most, if there are, they are associated with particular buildings or businesses. I can't think of anything specific right now. But the reason this requires a variance for the use is because it is in a residential district, and a parking lot independently is not a permitted use. Because it's in a separate zoning district, we can't consider it just an accessory use to the business that's going to be at 126.
Well, those are my concerns. Figured I would at least voice my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Come on.
Me again. Amanda Lilick, 109 Forest. My concern is definitely the parking lot coming out onto, wherever the other picture was, onto Forest. Currently, they are building $600,000 houses at the bottom of the hill, so I'm going to have an exit at the top where my children walk to school, and an exit at the bottom where now there's more traffic coming out. And to my knowledge, the driving skills of people down my hill mostly are flying, and when they hit the bottom, they bottom out because it's broken, much like 2nd Avenue. But that's a lot of parking lots where no one, and more specifically at the top, people that have been inebriated will be pulling out and then driving down my street. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows in Conshohocken, I have yet to see people really stop at a stop sign. So they're going pretty fast in a residential area. My other concern is that you're going to have 8 possible employees. Where are they parking? Because if they're parking, are they parking in that lot, or are they parking on the street, which only has currently a 2-hour time limit on it? And my other main concern is that if they're parking on that street, the police would actually have to enforce the don't block the driveways, don't block. I've had people park in front of my driveway, and I get very irritated about it, and I don't necessarily use my driveway every day, but I don't want people parked there. That's my driveway. If I choose to be in it or out of it or whatever, it's my driveway. And people have parked there, and I'm told, call the police. When you call the police, they will not tow that car. They will give it a $20 ticket, first for being parked for too long, and second for blocking a driveway, but that's about it. I've actually actively been told by police that guy's from Delaware County. You don't want his car towed, do you? And I said, I'm a resident of Conshohocken. I'm confused. Also, the handicap parking. My neighbor just went through some lengthy process to have a handicap spot put in for his wife and himself. And anybody can park there. So if they just so happen to want to go to your cigar bar and they have a handicap placard, there goes my neighbor's little thing. He doesn't have a plate, so he has a placard, so I think there's like some sort of little loophole people can jump into. That's not fair either, because he put in the medical.
Let me address that. That simply means that one of the signs has not been put up yet because it probably has not been received. There will be a sign added to that pole which ties that particular parking space to your neighbor's vehicle.
And that is wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. He'll be relieved. However, no one's doing their due diligence with the parking patrol as it is to say, get out of that spot. So
Well,
my
that
problem is that.
I think what might be beneficial is when we meet on Monday at 1:45 that I have the chief of police with me.
Oh, good. Well, yeah,
Okay.
that'd probably be good. I mean, I haven't met him, but sure. I've met a
He's
lot
right
of other
here.
ones.
It's Chief Metz.
Hi, Chief Metz.
How you doing?
I'm good today. Yeah, my main concern is most definitely the children on the street and that parking lot coming out, because now you have a parking lot. Not to mention you have that alley in the middle of the road, where now I have people going down the alley, up the alley, back and forth through that alley. And if you've ever been on Forest and First, that alley is dangerous. It is not like a straight shot down. It's like a down and a little down, and it's a disaster. So I'm very concerned for my children's well-being with the alcohol, with the smoke, with the parking, with the whole thing. I'm not against your business. I'm telling you, I like it. The parking lot is the problem, and I agree with everyone that said Conshohocken's becoming a walking thing. Like, you want to walk Conshohocken. You want them to see all the businesses, not just yours, no offense, but you want them to walk up and down the street, and we like the foot traffic. So it would be probably more beneficial to most of the businesses in Conshohocken if the parking lot wasn't there, because he could park in that new Keystone parking lot with their metered spots and walk. So I just want to try to voice that again. Thanks for the help.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I have one more question, Harvey Butte, 103. What's the storm sewer management on the lot?
Storm water management?
Storm water management, yeah.
We are going to obviously manage the stormwater on the site. So
You have no plans at this point?
Could you guys speak into the microphone?
Sorry.
No one can hear.
I have a concept plan for stormwater management. We're going to be doing underground storage. But that is not with the benefit of doing soils testing, infiltration testing, all that type of stuff. But yes, we obviously, Conshohocken has a stormwater ordinance, and we would not get a plan approved without meeting the stormwater standards.
Can you come up, George? One more.
Let me log us back in.
Hi, George Horning, 404 East 10th. With this high-end cigar bar, are you going to sell memberships?
Yes.
Like yearly memberships, 24-hour access?
But we haven't approached that yet.
Okay, because like Mr. Stokely did the math on buying the property, and you're dropping some money just on a parking lot. You're going to need to recoup that, and that's what I think yearly memberships, 24-hour access. We're familiar with cigar bars, and we've seen that type. That's not in the plans yet, or?
No, my hours of operation that I'm presenting today don't include that at this point.
Okay, because people can then come in 24 hours a day, use the showers, facilities. They could BYOB.
I won't have BYOB, or I won't have shower.
Yeah, but it'll be off hours if they have 24-hour access.
Yeah, no, we haven't, it's not included in what I presented this evening for 24-hour access.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's only till normal hours.
Okay. And he said about will they need an impervious
A
waiver?
variance. They have to go through zoning for that,
For
yes.
that? Yeah, because, what is it, 70% of your land?
60.
60%, okay, yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more.
My name's Lisa Lilick. I live at 804, but I grew up on Forest Street, okay? And it was always a wonderful little street to live on. And I know that there has to be progress, and that's great, but there's just too much being thrown on the people that live on that street. There's just too much between what you're doing, what's going on at the bottom. Then you're going to add that at the top of the street, and like my daughter said, they'll be coming out from that entrance of that driveway, from that parking lot. They come out of the alley. Then you have the houses at the bottom where their garages, they all are going to be coming out that way. So you have all these areas on that street with people coming in and out that way. There are a lot of people that drink going around that way, and it's just a lot. And they have all the things on Fayette also impact them on that side. When you go in their backyard to enjoy their backyard, they're already tolerating big, the exhaust fans and all that. Now you're going to add people smoking and the smoke. There's a mouse problem from those places. I mean, they're just contending with so much. And the other thing I want to say is I know that you aren't obligated to have told them about this because it's not a zoning meeting, but you are making a decision tonight on whether to support this or not. And he is making a decision tomorrow on whether to buy that or not. So once you would support it and he would buy it, what are the odds that the zoning board isn't going to give the variance for that? Which I don't understand why they're giving variances on so much. You have the rules in place for a reason. It should be, not the rule that you keep overriding the variance. It should be the exception to the rule and for a really good reason that benefits a lot of people. So basically, if they didn't hear about this, they didn't come here, you are making a decision tonight. You are. You're going to decide whether you think it's okay, and then he's going to go buy it, and it's going to go on from there. So I would like to say that in a situation like this, maybe the rule shouldn't be that you only tell us as taxpayers when it's a zoning meeting, if something's going to come of it. See what I mean? It just doesn't seem right. They should have had the right to voice these opinions before you make a decision.
That's normally what they do at zoning. We're not approving anything.
No,
We're
but you're
disapproving.
You're giving like the okey-doke, like we heard what he
literally,
said.
literally got this
This evening.
This evening. We're hearing what
All
this
of it.
presentation is at the same time you
Okay.
are. So what we're doing is taking notes on everything that you are saying, because that is very important in our decision if we support or not support.
Exactly, but they
what
wouldn't
I
have
would
known.
what I would encourage is that you and this group and more go to the zoning hearing board and have these conversations as well. We're all in this.
they're
We're all
going
in
to.
this together, right?
I know, they're
We're all
going
in this
to.
together, so we need to get it all out as far as what our concerns are, so that we can see if they actually can be met or not met.
But you
so I
just made
appreciate-
my point. You're taking notes of what they said, but if they didn't know about it, you wouldn't have them here to make the notes.
Correct.
Right?
Well, in the beginning when we came on council, no one came before us, so we never knew anything. This is why we do it, because we didn't know.
This is part of that
This
process.
is part of the process now.
So we appreciate what you're
So the council
saying.
is aware, and we do appreciate it, yes.
Okay,
All
thank you.
right, thank you.
Because they go to planning commission first, right? So there's two more meetings.
Okay.
President Leonard.
It's one more quick
Yes,
question, it's not board, it's not anything.
I'm sorry, this is the last one because we really do need to proceed, and this is something that should be done at zoning, but go ahead.
That's fine. I just have one last question, and this is just no parking, nothing. If they tell you no parking lot, are you still buying that building? Like, are you still going to go through with the cigar thing, the whole thing, but no parking lot?
The most important thing to me is the front building.
Okay.
But I have to have both buildings. I have to buy both buildings.
Okay.
And I'm going to be totally honest with everybody here. I am listening to everything being said as an owner and being from this area. I do think I was coming with a better solution to help the area to take less impact off the streets, right, of people parking on your street, to have a place where they, at least 17 spaces. So when we looked at spending the money, and I went to my partners and said, this will impact, I think will help, I got a lot of flack too, right? So from business partners that look at it and say, well, that's a lot of money per parking space. But I said, but they need spaces because the area can't handle, the businesses can't handle. So when I did come here tonight, I did think of all this. I tried. The plan, my first plan was to come out on 2nd Street. It wasn't possible to do that the right way and get the maximum amount of spaces. We looked at the building. I look at the building myself. My grandfather was a stonemason. He built buildings like that all day long. I look at that building as a beautiful building. But I'm trying to weigh as a business owner in the area to say, how can we help and not impact the area as much and still have a business? And I want everybody here to support the business. I want everybody here who smokes cigars in this room to come there and enjoy it and not hate it. And I don't want to be anybody's enemy. So I'm taking everything you're saying, and I will listen to it, and I'll talk to Sean. I mean, we're from the area, so I'm not taking this lightly.
No,
And I listen to you as a mother. I have a lot of kids. They're a lot older because I'm a lot older. But, you know, mine are in their 20s. But I totally understand what you're saying. So I will take it back, and, I will look at it.
And one more, just tiny. If there is no parking lot, are you going to consider keeping that structure and fixing it? Or, because to me, that's a beautiful house. I know it looks run down, but it has potential to be something.
Listen, I can already tell you, if that's not a parking lot, that building's going to remain the same, and it's going to be fixed up, and all that brush and everything's going to be cleaned up. I'm not willing to let that happen.
Okay, good. That's all I wanted to hear.
So
Thank you.
So it doesn't go there.
That's all, yes, it's long enough now. Thank you very much.
Can I just give you just one overview of one thing that I forgot to go over in the
Yes.
beginning? This is the existing conforming signage on the building, the orange awning with that sign at the top. This is conforming, we don't need any variances for signage on that. So that there and on the side, the awning would be replaced on the side. It's already an awning there. We're just replacing it with the new business name on it and make it nicer and make it more lit up. I'm proposing, which would require a small variance, is the other one. With awnings, changing the awning color, awnings on top and bottom, changing the signage, changing the side, moving the one orange sign down so it's not on the top of the building, more towards the lower side. But you'll see the two drawings and compare. If I do this, the only variance would be the writing on the top awning and this sign right here on the top, which is no longer near that orange sign. So I just tried to look at the building. There will be other enhancements we're making, painting and cleaning, and but I wanted to make a change to kind of blend it with the rest of the street to not have it look like this. So I just wanted that known. So, if we do this, there's no variance. If we do this, there's going to be a variance, but I think it's worthwhile, but that's totally up to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The first item for consideration for this property is the hearing regarding the waiver of off-street parking for 126 Fayette Street. We would need a motion, if you are so inclined, to approve the waiver of off-street parking for the second floor business at 126 Fayette Street.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item for this application that is up for consideration this evening is whether or not to make a motion to send a letter of support to the zoning hearing board for the 126 Fayette Street, 129 Forest Street zoning application.
So, I'd like to make a motion, but can I announce it first?
Sure.
Okay. I explained earlier that I'm on the parking task force along with Bob Stokely and a lot of other representatives. So that whole thing is we are screaming, crying for more parking. So there's that one piece of it that it is so sorely needed. And then on this other side, it is a residential area. It is smack dab in the middle of a neighborhood that didn't have this existing before. It's difficult for me to support that. I sense that, I can't speak for the rest of the council, but my motion will be that to not support the parking space. Not said all right. I do not support.
So
I don't think we should send a letter.
the motion that Councilmember Totino is proposing is for council to not send a letter of support, a letter of non-support to the zoning hearing board for this application. Is there non-support? Is there a second? Hearing none, Is there any other motion that would like to be made at this point?
I'm making a motion to stay neutral. I think that we heard from the residents. You heard them loud and clear of what work you need to do before you go in front of the zoning hearing board. So I am making that motion because I don't think that all the work has been done to get to that point yet. So at this point, I'm making a motion to stay neutral.
I would second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So staying neutral is not non-support either, so. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think they need to work on it.
The next item on the agenda is to consider approving a resolution for a 100% clean, renewable energy future.
Oh,
I'll make that motion.
before we do that, I would,
I just need to discuss a few items before a
Yes.
motion is made. So the EAC did their due diligence and they came back to us to discuss council's requests for any changes to the resolution. The EAC has proposed, what's in front of you, the resolution that really did encompass all of the requested changes that you made. So I give them kudos for that because they took all of your guidance and suggestions and they are presenting to you a recommendation that I think takes into account your concerns. There is not a vote is not going to take place on this particular item tonight because you need time to actually read through and evaluate. So the only question I have to you for this evening is whether or not there are any other items that you would like me to revise and discuss with the EAC prior to the vote on the 19th.
I have concerns over the spending the money for the consultant.
Okay.
I don't necessarily, I would prefer not to have that included and leave the option to have that decided later on in the year when we do our budget. Maybe by that time, we would have more information on exactly what that is because as of right now, it's very open. There's not any detail about it, what they would do, what it involves, and I just would like to be a little more responsible about spending that money. As for the resolution itself, I don't have any problem with that.
Okay. Is there a consensus in that sentiment?
I agree. I think it's too vague at this point for us to commit the money. Plus, it's not in our budget for this year, so we'll look at next year's budget.
Well, they were asking for next year.
Right.
It's for
Right.
But I don't want to commit to it now because we don't know where they're going to spend the money besides saying a consultant.
Okay, so it sounds like what I'm hearing is that you, barring any other changes that you'd like made over the course of the next 2 weeks, you'd like further confirmation regarding the dollars that are allocated for an energy planner, and you'd like to consider that portion of this resolution, so remove it from the resolution and make it part of the budget conversation as a request from the EAC at that point.
Perfect.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So we're on a consensus with that?
Yeah, I think the language can stay in there about an energy planner.
Right.
And working in coordination with
Okay.
council.
With the municipalities. We'll remove the dollar amounts and then we'll confirm in the budget cycle. Okay. I will go back to the EAC, have that conversation, and it'll be in front of you on the 19th for consideration for a vote.
Okay.
Okay? Are you all right if I just keep going?
Keep going, Steph.
Okay.
It's all yours. Manager matters.
All right. There's quite a few items under manager matters, so I will try to keep them as brief as possible. The first item on the agenda is to consider approving the adoption of a parental leave policy, which would be effective January 1st of 2020. Again, this is the start of a conversation. I have worked directly with Montgomery County, who passed a similar policy back in February of 2019. And I've worked directly with our Labor Council and our solicitor to ensure that what we are presenting to council is, from a legal standpoint, permissible. There was a lot of due diligence that went into this. The highlights of the policy that is in front of you this evening, it encompasses the following. So it strictly applies only to the parental leave to care for a newborn or newly adopted child or legal guardianship. The FMLA gives workers 12 weeks of unpaid leave, so the proposed policy in front of you would provide eligible employees with 6 weeks of paid leave and the option to take the remaining 6 weeks of FMLA unpaid. So per the borough's FMLA policy, again, all the stipulations of FMLA would have to be followed in our current policy, but this would just be providing 6 weeks of paid leave as an option. They would have to be employed for at least 12 months, and there's some stipulation on hours. The policy would not allow for intermittent leave, and the use of the policy would not be able to be used until after the birth of the child, adoption, or foster care placement, even if the FMLA begins prior to that time. To be eligible, you'd have to be returning to work after the FMLA. And under this, what I would be proposing is that we would be allocating a certain dollar figure, which is why the adoption of this is not in front of you now, because again, it would be part of the budget cycle, but we'd have to factor in consideration if you're going to discuss a parental leave policy, there is a financial component to this, because you'd either have to allocate additional dollars to another employee to take on additional work and or hire temp to replace during the time of the leave. However, I would like to say that the county did approve a parental leave policy in 2019, and I think given where our borough is now and the benefits that have been shown in terms of the quality of work-life balance, that we as a borough should take a stance and provide this option to employees in the future. While we can't do anything now, I think it would be responsible of us to look towards our workforce moving down the road and providing the benefit.
I absolutely agree. I think that is the direction that we're probably a little late to the game. And I think that there should be further discussion. Right now, this is a proposal of 6 weeks. I think that we should discuss maybe actually adding, maybe making it 8 weeks and do a reduction, maybe for weeks 7 and 8, that it would be a reduction in the percentage of the salary. I think that there are a handful of states that require their state mandated benefits for disability, including pregnancy. I think we should consider that and have further discussion.
Recommending not putting forward the policy at this point and more discussion on it, or put the policy forward so that we've got something underway and then look at what enhancements we can make to the policy as we get more information.
Okay, right. So
is
if
that what you're looking for?
A decision doesn't need to be made until December, right?
Yeah, so I guess for tonight, this is the first time I'm presenting anything of this nature to council to consider. So tonight was mostly to get the proposed policy in front of you, to have you review it, to have any initial conversation or discussions that you may want me to take back and consider as I'm revising the policy, the final policy that will be presented to you in your budget cycle for 2020 consideration. So I have that down. I'll consider that as a factor. Is there anything else?
And another part is a lot of insurance carriers consider 6 weeks for a vaginal delivery, 8 weeks for a cesarean. So that was another part of what I'm factoring into.
Okay, well, I can do some research and just see if there's anything else out there industry-wide that would work in that range.
So Karen, you're saying to extend after the disability insurance stops for our parental leave?
Well, just to be very clear, there would be no short-term disability under this. We would be offering 12 weeks FMLA.
Or pay.
Okay.
We would be offering 6 weeks paid.
Okay, so not
no short-term disability.
Okay.
And then they would have the option of staying out for an additional 6 weeks unpaid. But But you first would utilize your vacation. Our FMLA policy requires you to utilize vacation, sick, and personal, and then you still have the option of staying out for the remainder of FMLA that would be unpaid.
Okay.
So the benefit of this is that even under our current short-term disability, there's a 31-day wait period, and then it's only up to a certain percentage, max $500 a week.
Right.
So you really would be offering males and females an option where you would have 6 weeks at your salary, and then you have the decision.
Right.
So if you want me to look at options where there's either a declining percentage or whatnot for the stretching them out to 8 weeks, I can do that. I can see if there's anything else out there.
The only reason I mentioned the word insurance is just because the standard time.
Can someone go out and ask them just to?
Oh, not the little pregnant girl. Jeez.
Nobody will tell Allison.
What I need from tonight is, number one, would you like me to move forward? Is this something that, a policy that you're interested in instituting?
Yes.
Okay, so we have
Very
support
important policy.
in that we would be adopting a parental leave policy.
Correct.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Number two, are you comfortable with the concept of there being a paid portion of parental leave?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Are we in the ballpark that we are agreeing to somewhere between 6 and 8 weeks?
Yes.
Remember that the county did 6. So I was
I'm fine
trying
with
to
6.
use, that's the closest industry standard we have.
Right.
So I'll come back to you with a
Start at
range.
6, look at what options are.
Yes.
So from my own experience, we supplement with our PTO time for the rest of the time. So if you have PTO time, it helps supplement it. So I think we need to look at some of that as well.
Right.
Okay, so what's in front of you tonight would be 6 weeks paid, then a requirement to expend your PTO. And then if you want to remain out for the rest of the 12 weeks, it's unpaid at that point.
Correct.
Okay. I think
I think it's a good start.
I just would like to commend council for allowing me to even present such a proposal. It is not an industry norm from a government perspective, I'll put it that way, where they have a parental leave policy. So you would be a forerunner in providing this type of benefit to your employees.
It's important.
It's very important.
Anyone else want me to take anything back in terms of consideration when I'm going to? I will at some point, when I'm comfortable taking back your feedback, present you with a final for your consideration for a vote.
Okay, so thank you, Steph.
Okay, thank you.
Keep going.
All right, let's bang out some quick ones here. 120 West 11th Avenue is ready for an escrow release, so we are asking for you to approve the release of 120 West 11th Avenue demolition escrow in the amount of $13,512.40. I would need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is to consider approving the release of 120 West 11th Avenue financial security in the amount of $16,037. I would need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is to consider approving the release of the 728 Maple Street pre-construction professional services escrow in the amount of $522.45. I would need a motion.
I make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is to consider approving the financial audit of both Conshohocken Fire Companies from January 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2018. As we continue to evaluate the fire company operations in the boroughs of Conshohocken, it's imperative that we complete a financial audit. The audit will be a thorough and full audit, just like is completed for the borough of Conshohocken. And the fee that is guaranteed, it's a not-to-exceed audit cost. It is $4,500 per company. It is being completed by the auditor, the borough's auditor. And I am proposing that the fees would come out of contingencies. It would be $9,000 plus any additional fees based on the status of each entity's financials. So what is in front of you this evening is consideration to approve the audit with the funds being appropriated from contingencies in the 2019 budget.
Question on that. So is that 4,500 just for the auditing, or is that because of the condition that?
It's $4,500 just for the audit, and then if there are conditions where they are not able to, they need assistance with gathering the materials, it will be an increase. But I won't know that number. So the motion specifically, the agenda item request in front of you lists specifically that it's $9,000 plus any additional fees based on the status of each entity's financials.
Okay. I did see in there that they, as part of their proposal, it said that fees are a deciding factor in your selection of another auditor, that they were open to discussion. Were we able to negotiate that that's where it got us to?
That's where I got them to.
Fine, it's fine with me.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item involves liquid fuels. Karen, if you could please come up to the podium. There's two agenda items. The first agenda item is to consider approving the scope of services in the fee proposal for providing design and public bidding for the borough's 2019 liquid fuels project related to storm sewer paving and curb ramp improvements along East 8th Avenue from Wells Street to Jones Street. Karen, can you just talk very briefly as to why we are considering that location?
Sure. So currently there are some storm sewer structures that cross the street. They are not in good condition. They currently have plates over them because the top has collapsed, so the plates will allow vehicles to cross over it. So by doing this, what we would do is put in new storm sewer structures, new inlets, new pipes, and pave that entire intersection to grade it to drain into those pipes, and then take it down to the nearest existing inlets, which is at 8th and Jones. So we would do a trench down the street, and we would only do paving of the trench, so we wouldn't be paving the whole road because that will keep the cost within what you have available for the 2019 liquid fuels. But we would pave the entire intersection of 8th and Wells just because we need it for the grading purposes.
So you need a motion?
The first motion would be to approve the scope and services and fee for the actual engineering, the design and the public bidding, and that is at a cost of $12,620. It's a not to exceed.
Well, it's $12,100 plus $520 per curb ramp. I wrote it that way because I'm not sure how many curb ramps we would get into.
Okay.
You have to do a curb ramp anytime you pave past an existing one. So depending on where we end the paving will depend on how many curb ramps you get into.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve the scope of services and fee proposals for providing design and public bidding for the borough's 2019 liquid fuel project related to storm sewer, paving, curb ramp improvements along East 8th Avenue, Wells to Jones Street.
That's correct.
Someone want to make that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
And then there is an adjacent motion that would be required, which would be to consider authorizing the advertisement of Conshohocken Borough's 2019 liquid fuels project to include the scope of work at East 8th Avenue at Wells Street with a storm sewer connection to Jones Street.
I'll make that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. The next item on the agenda is to consider authorizing a 6-month trial period on the extension of hours of operation for the Conshohocken Municipal Heliport. This item was in front of you previously for consideration. We've had further conversations with Kinetics, which is the organization that utilizes the helipad. So just to clarify, the helipad is a borough property. We insure it. We own it. There's a license agreement with Fanatics, which is Kinetics, to utilize the helipad. It should also be noted that emergency landings and emergency vehicles also utilize that helipad for medical transports, etc. So it's not only Fanatics and Kinetics that is utilizing it. In the conversations with Kinetics, which we have brought them in, the operator, to discuss the overall arrangement, it was brought to our attention that we need more information regarding when those emergency landings are actually happening. So we've gotten the name of the operating company, which is EJM, and we are reaching out administratively to do more due diligence to understand exactly how those landings are taking place. So we can really understand and determine when Kinetics is doing the landings and when other entities are utilizing that helipad. So Kinetics has put the request forward, and what the request entails is right now, their schedule is 7 to 11 Monday through Friday and 9 to 11 Saturday, Sundays, and holidays. And they're asking for an extension of those hours until midnight from time to time. And the trial period would be 6 months, and it would limit it to 3 times per month.
Why do they need that?
The owner of the company, in terms of business dealings and meetings and whatnot, they're finding that that they're not meeting that 11 p.m. threshold, and so they're asking for the extension. So you either you have the opportunity to say no to the trial period. You can say yes to the trial period, and you can instruct administration to really monitor what's happening and have Kinetics turn in a report in terms of what their landings are. It's up to you.
But what's the agreement? What do they pay us for that pad?
They do not pay us
They
for
don't
that.
pay us
Yeah.
nothing. So we're paying maintenance, we're letting them land on our ground.
So they pay a license fee, but they would pay nothing additional as a
With
Yeah,
this.
but they should be paying us for that.
Well, I
We're
can't speak to the agreement that was signed back in 2014,
I understand.
but
And I remember the agreement, but
Okay.
it was a quick agreement, right, Ike?
Right.
It was a real quick agreement, so I think
well,
we
what
should
you could do,
revisit that.
you could revisit it. So you could do the trial period and determine whether it definitely needs to be revisited, which sounds like you want to happen, which
I
we
want
can
it-
do.
It should be revisited.
So the question is, do you want it revisited prior? Do you want it redone now? Or would you like there to be a trial period so we can determine over the course of 6 months what's happening down there, what they should be paying, and what the schedule should be?
That's okay, I mean, it's up to council, but my opinion is they have to pay, because we're paying for maintenance too for that property.
And insurance.
Yeah, insurance.
I think because we don't have enough information, we kind of relax to get it up and running. I'm comfortable with the 6-month trial period.
And it's a limited amount of
It's
So it's
three
only
times
3
per month.
landings per month.
Correct. I'm very comfortable with that. But what I would like to put a stipulation in is that we understand what the utilization of that is, both by Kinetics, Fanatics, and by anyone else using it.
emergency services.
Right.
Um,
We
so
should
that
have a
they-
log of every time someone lands, and I also feel like
There
they
is a
should
log.
notify George.
They do have
The
some.
police department should know.
They were down there today at 4 o'clock.
I think that.
Right, especially the emergency landings,
So
that's
our
important.
emergency management coordinator has been trying to dive deeply into this topic.
Right.
To his credit. So I'm saying that the request for the extension of hours brought to light factors like costs and insurance and usage and emergency services that we're looking into from an administrative perspective. We're going to do our due diligence.
Right.
In the meantime, Kinetics didn't ask for the trial period. We went back to them and said, no, we would potentially consider a trial period to determine what the effect was, if at all, if there was an effect, if applicable.
Right.
So the request in front of you this evening, you can take an additional 2 weeks to think about it, and I can put it on the June 19th agenda. You can vote on it tonight, or you can tell me that you're not interested.
I agree with Tina.
So I'll make a motion to give the trial period with the stipulation that we'll have the information over the 6 months of utilization, where at that time, we then can evaluate how we would like to look at the agreement, because I also think that we need to investigate how old is the pad, how much wear and tear does a pad have, and when does it become a safety risk? And since it is ours, then that's on us. So I think there's a lot.
Not involved, there's a lot of
Yeah.
liability there.
Right.
They give us one-time money for the dog park, right?
Yeah, something like that, about 500 hours. That was a quick deal.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, we would like to know what we are getting from a community partner that's utilizing one of our pieces of
Facilities,
property,
right.
our facilities. You'd like us to look at the license agreement, we'll take a look at the landings, and we'll come back to you after 6 months with some more data.
Great.
Good?
Yes.
And, if there's any problem during that time period, I think it's something we would have to look at also.
I agree.
So. Tina made the
Okay.
motion. Someone to second that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah. Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is to consider approving the extension of the solid waste disposal agreement with Covanta Plymouth for the additional 5-year option period as specified in the agreement dated December 3rd, 2014. I'd like to stipulate that I am not asking for a motion on this evening. This is, since we have many new faces on council, this is probably the first time that you've seen this agreement, the bid documents that went out with this agreement, and notification of the fact that Plymouth, West Conshohocken, and Conshohocken were in on that bid together in 2014. The way the contract currently is written, there's an option for an additional 5-year extension. There's prices that are already tied to that 5-year extension, which was in your upload. And if you review that over the next 2 weeks and have any questions, please let me know. I can tell you that the prices that were quoted are not really close to what we end up spending. We spend in approximately around the $170,000, $180,000 range annually, and the prices in the bid were much higher. So you're not expending the dollars that they forecasted you potentially to expend, but so you're within the range. Some items to note are just that, again, it's an extension of 5 years. I did speak with Plymouth and West Conshohocken. This item will also be on their agenda for consideration. And again, it's no vote this evening, but if you review it over the next 2 weeks, it will be on your June 19th agenda. If we do nothing, it automatically renews. So I'm putting it in front of you in a timely fashion so you have a choice, you have the ability to make a choice rather than just an automatic extension.
Even though the 3 parties were part of the original
Yes.
process, can only 1 or 2 parties?
No.
It has to be all 3 saying yes?
Oh, no. The extension applies to the individual municipality.
Each individual contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or discussion you want to have on that this evening? Okay.
Why do we think that we're below what they bid it out back in?
I think that it was just a forecast on tonnage.
Yeah.
And we're not-
The unit price is the same, it's just we're not.
Just don't use as
It's
much
the
as they
tonnage of
thought.
the actual trash that we're not reaching. And again, that was across 3 entities.
We're not trashing.
There's a gentleman here from the company, if there's anything you'd like to say. No? Okay.
Actually, not for the company, the resident.
Oh, resident, okay.
I just was curious if there's an option to do less than 5 years. It seems like the Covanta, as a resident, the Covanta plant has had some issues recently that have affected our quality of life. And don't know that renewing for another 5 years seems like a good idea.
It's a good question, it's not. It's a 5-year option with prices based on having 5 years.
But there are alternative ways to dispose of trash.
There are.
Right?
There are. Okay, so again, for tonight, it's conversation piece. It'll be on your agenda again for 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is to consider authorizing the borough manager to send a letter of support on behalf of the Plymouth White Marsh Rowing Club to the Conshohocken Rowing Center. So the Plymouth White Marsh High School parents are developing a club rowing program at Plymouth White Marsh High School. They've met with Tina, who's on the board, Tom Flynn, who's on the board, and myself. The initiative is well underway, and they plan to have students start rowing as part of the school club team in the fall of 2019. They've had preliminary talks with the executive director of the CRC, and those conversations continue. They are talking about things such as logistical items, coaches, finances, equipment use, insurance, boathouse rental, fees, uniforms, fuel, etc. From our standpoint, we think it would be a benefit for an entity within the Borough of Conshohocken, specifically our students, to have greater access to the CRC. So what I would be asking for this evening is authorization to send a letter that basically states that that we would like the CRC board to continue their conversations and see how that relationship would work. I don't know, Tina, if there's anything else you'd like to add.
Yeah, so they're not necessarily asking us to fund it or support their program from that perspective, but what they do need is a little extra help to get a program up and running. And it.
We clap for this?
Was that?
Can we clap for this?
Can we clap for it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, this has
but-
been a long time.
Yeah. So I think that we have some dedicated parents who really are invested in this. Things that it can bring to the kid, girls get full scholarships, those kinds of things.
Right.
But we have, space down there. We're not using it and getting our investment out of it currently the way that we would hope. So this is a way for us to have the CRC work with us a little bit differently, to take our investment and use it for our community and our residents and our kids,
Right. Absolutely.
So I'm looking for you guys to help support a letter going to them to say, yes, you should be working with them.
Yes.
Instead of closing them down and saying, no, this is our place.
Good
Right.
job.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to do a motion to authorize the borough manager to send a letter to the CRC indicating support for the formation of the PW High School Club team that would utilize the CRC at its home facility.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The last item I have is to consider authorizing submission of an application for the CMAQ grant program. We currently have one CMAQ grant that is active, and that is Phase 1. It's the Traffic Signal Improvement Project along Fayette Street. The scope of the next phase, if approved for submission, would include full modernization of the traffic signals at the following intersections: West Elm and Caldwell Lane and Wood Street, West Elm and Maple Street, West Elm and Oak Street, East Elm and Harry Street. It would include vehicular and pedestrian signal heads, emergency preemption equipment, controller assemblies, and ADA facilities. So given the current and future development occurring in the area, I think it's imperative that the borough do all within its capability to make the intersections efficient as possible, which includes making the ancillary intersections leading up to it as efficient and modern as possible as well. So in addition, the grant application will also request funding for flashing warning devices along Fayette Street at the intersections of 4th and 7th. So we'll be heavily focusing on infrastructure in our next few budget cycles.
Yes.
I believe that the borough should commit to these types of potential funding opportunities. The project has been reviewed and recommended by our traffic engineer, and his submission was attached in your agenda materials. So the total cost of design, construction, and inspection is estimated at $2,235,000, which is a big number, and we would have to commit a 20% match, which would be $447,000. I balked at the number at first. However, in order to submit for the grant, we have to meet a June deadline. We do, in the CMAQ program, have the ability to reduce the scope depending on where all the numbers fall in the budget cycle. So I'm still recommending that you consider and authorize submission of this application with that scope of the project. And then as we go through the application process, if we are selected, then we can determine a scope where we're comfortable in terms of dollars. But this kind of really gives you your full package.
Mm-hmm.
At what point in the grant match does the match come in? If they authorize,
So
if they approve us for the grant?
Right, so if
do
they
we have
approve us in 2019, which
Right.
is, we're in the application process now, it's due at the end of June, we would have to provide the matching funds in the 2020 budget. So I wouldn't be coming to you and asking you for $447,000 now.
So we can plan for it?
You would be
Right,
planning
right.
for it.
Okay.
But in order to submit for it, we have to be able to submit the 20% match, which you
We'll
can.
be able to do in
Right.
2020. Okay, so we need a motion to authorize submission of an application for the CMAQ grant program.
I would make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The last item on the agenda is a legal matter, which I will turn over to Mike Peters.
Thanks. This is going to be tabled this evening as well. How Properties is not here, so it would not be fair to vote on a resolution without them being present. This resolution is relatively straightforward. As you'll recall, in 2018, you approved a mixed-use development at 130 West Fifth. It was going to be 9 apartments and a commercial space on the first floor. It has since changed to 12 apartments, which means 2 things. One, you have to amend your approval, if you're so inclined, to provide for 12 apartments, because the previous approval was for 9 and commercial. And 2, now that there's additional commercial space, we want to make sure that we exercise our right to the fee in lieu for those 3 additional spaces. For this particular project, as you may recall, we negotiated a fee in lieu with them that council approved of $2,500 a unit. The proposed resolution sticks to that $2,500 a unit, so they'd be paying $30,000 total, $7,500 more. So it's not before you this evening because Hal is not here. They'll be at your next meeting, I assume, and you will consider it then. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but it's to effectuate what they're actually doing there.
Anyone have any
So
questions?
they won't be doing commercial anymore?
No commercial at all.
All
Okay.
apartments.
All, not, it's going to be 12 apartments, yep.
On West
So that catering kitchen didn't pan out?
No, none, I mean,
Okay.
nothing that they planned on doing down there has apparently, I mean, not 12 apartments, fine.
Yeah, well, it's kind of where it's at, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, I'm not forgetting. Mayor Aronson?
So we had our Arts Festival and Car Show on Saturday, and I think it went really, really well. I thanked my team profusely. I want to make sure I thank council for your support early on for putting it on this year. I also want to make sure council knows the tremendous amount of work that our infrastructure here at the borough put in, between police, fire police, public works, and administration. A lot of work went into putting on the festival. So thank you to everyone represented here, and we look forward to next year.
So I'm going to ask a request from council that when we do the patching of the roads, potholes, that we do not dispose of the extra asphalt, that we try to patch some of the alleys. I'm back on the alley thing again. So I'm asking council if it's permission to do that. Instead of disposing where we throw it away or whatever, if there is any left, that we put it in the potholes in the alleys.
Yeah, so the problem is that you can't use public funds to benefit a private property, which is
Our
what.
residents or taxpayers.
I understand that, but and you have to keep in mind who's going to pick and choose which of these private alleyways you're improving. There are a lot of issues that run along
For
with
years.
it.
So we throw the asphalt over the hill? Is that what we do? We throw it away?
I assume you don't throw it over a hill, but
Purchased,
Or-
so that the people are paying for it, just so that it's
no, there's
like.
I'm just going to tell you,
Nothing
we're
wrong with that.
back on the alleys again.
I think it's on the discussion to actually put it on the agenda.
Right.
Is that
I like it.
correct, Steph, in the near future?
Alleys?
Yeah.
I don't have the alleys on my,
Oh, it was the
I
addresses for
have
the
the rear
alleys.
addresses.
Right,
The
the rear
address.
addresses.
But,
Right.
and I'm not going to get, it's late, but the alleys are getting like to be roads now.
So are you suggesting that we do an evaluation of the alleys in addition to our $30 million
And picking the trash
infrastructure
up in
plan?
some of the alleys. I'm going to get back to that because 15 cars on my block today were waiting for the trash truck. 15 cars lined up. And listen, you got to collect the trash. But if you do, in my alley's wide, and there's a lot of wide alleys, you can pick up both sides right down the alley. All the way, you can go from Wood Street to Caldwell Lane in my alley and pick up both sides. Go right there, and it's all downhill. And there's a lot of alleys in town that we can do it.
One way up.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
That's all okay?
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Tina?
I don't have anything.
Jane?
I just want to say we had a wonderful first barbecue for our seniors today. It was well attended, and our, well, you weren't there. Where were you? So I'd like to thank council for supporting our first barbecue for the seniors, and thank administration and the community staff. They were wonderful, so it was a great turnout.
On that note, I would also like to thank Mission Barbecue and Insomnia Cookies. They provided the food, and they donated a lot of it. So a special thank you to them for their contributions, and it was very delicious.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great turnout. It really was.
Yeah.
I don't have anything, Karen.
I wasn't there.
I don't have anything. I'm too old for that stuff.
Chief
No,
Metz?
you're not.
I don't have anything.
Chief Metz?
I'm gonna be in the dunk tank at the carnival. On Saturday. So.
I have to seriously work on my arm, right? To get, I have
that's
to
right.
really work on my arm.
Bring your A game, because I'm gonna bring mine.
All right. Any more public comment? Come on, Betsy. I said, come on, Betsy.
All right, Betsy Horning, 404 East 10th Avenue. Bob, I like your idea about the alleys. Taxpayer money was used to pave those alleys over 40 years ago, if not longer. The whole intent of paving the alleys was to have trash pickup in the alleys. But after the alleys were paved, I guess it was determined that the weight of the trucks was too heavy for the layers of macadam that was put down. I mean, I was perfectly content having the good old dirt and stone alleys where they used to come around every couple of years and drop the stone and tar. But the alleys are bad, and if taxpayer money was used to pave an alley that we didn't ask for to be paved, we had no choice, why isn't taxpayer money used to fix the potholes in them?
So if you pave an alley, you get 25 years out of it, 20 years out of it.
If that.
I mean, that's a lot. I mean,
And like you're saying, they're used as streets now. The alleys are raceways. The second thing with the heliport, has anybody considered the residents in all this?
Which is why it's limited to just 3 times a month. Or
I think it was a
it's
year
right.
ago I asked you what the cutoff time was, and you said 11.
Right.
And the reason was a helicopter was landing after 11.
Right.
They're very noisy at 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
And I sleep with my windows open.
Yeah.
And I'm on 10th Avenue, that's down on the river, so I can only imagine what it sounds like to those living right there.
Yeah.
And emergency services should have priority of that helipad over some private entity.
Right. Which is why we want to do the research.
With regard to 8th and Wells, why are curb ramp improvements needed?
Well, they're needed all over the borough, but that is one specific area that is in the worst.
Why are they needed?
Curb ramps?
I know the answer, I just want to...
Karen, do you want to answer that question? Thank you.
So, I guess curb ramps are a federal requirement to be replaced anytime you pave past the pedestrian walking path. And
Thank you.
Because of the grading we're doing there, we're going to be crossing them.
So they're required by the ADA?
It's a separate federal law, but they're required to be replaced in accordance with those standards.
Okay. Each and every one of us in this room is a fall away from needing a handicap ramp, a wheelchair, a parking spot. The spots are not coded blue or yellow. They're constantly blocked by cars, so what's the point of having the handicap ramps? The point is we need them, but nobody's
we get it.
enforcing blocking access to them.
More on the avenues. Okay. I get it. Yeah. It's
Right.
something that we can look into
Right,
on how
because,
to make them more. I know.
I mean, I've had issues with the handicap spot for my mother, with people encroaching the line, and it clearly, the law clearly states any encroachment is a violation, and then to be told that it's only an inconvenience. The whole idea of a handicap spot or handicap ramp is accessibility for those that need it.
Right.
And I had the conversation with you that when we called, I was asked if I painted the lines. I went through the proper channels to get that spot for my parents.
Yes, you did.
My parents are 93 years old, have been in this borough since 1955. And the one thing that really disturbs me is every conversation I have with someone related to council is, oh, how long have you been a resident? It doesn't matter how long I've lived in this town.
I never asked you that.
No, you didn't, because you know. I'm a resident taxpayer, and I vote.
Right.
Parking's a big issue. I mean, I really heard it from these people over here, you know, their driveway's blocked, nothing's done about it. What's the point of having ordinances if they're not going to be enforced? I've had conversations with a couple of you up here, and I'm not going to mention names. The property at 400 East 10th Avenue is not zoned for commercial office. They're in there, still operating, and I'm told that they're going to get a variance for the off-street parking. It's ridiculous. When are you going to turn the faucet off? You can only get 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag. Parking's like 1,000 pounds in a 5-pound bag. And I know I'm not the only one that's complained about it. I mean, it's to the point, you know, call Guinness Book of World Records. We're going to be the largest parking lot in the world. It almost sounds like after listening to all these people talk, nobody's hearing what they're saying.
We're hearing them. We do know.
You may hear it, but are you
Yes, we are
protecting their...
Well, I think we are committed. I think that we've created a parking task force to look at those things. I think that we're working directly with the police department to look at enforcement of the complaints that we've been getting. So we need the residents' feedback.
But I've
so that
seen
we
no
can-
enforcement. Twice I had issues with the handicap spot, and I'm told, well, it's just an inconvenience. It's not an inconvenience. It's an accessibility issue.
So I think that we have the chief of police's
And he came and
attention
spoke
at this
to my
point.
mom.
I'll take exception with no enforcement, okay, because that's incorrect. Officers and parking enforcement officers in this town every day go out and enforce traffic laws, parking laws, criminal laws. So I do take exception with your no enforcement assessment, okay? That being said, what is your complaint? I talked to you and your mother for 45 minutes to an hour one day about this.
Well, you're
right?
waiting for the borough guy to come to talk to me about repainting the lines. But the issue is, I mean, I heard it from these other people here, that their driveways are blocked and nothing's happening.
Okay, well, listen, that's not true. You heard somebody say something today, and I'll tell you right now that we are responsive. If someone is parked in front of your driveway and you call the police, I guarantee you that that car will be ticketed and towed upon your request, okay? Now, we don't always tow them, because sometimes the property owner will be like, nah, I don't want to see a car get towed. But if you want to get out of there or get in there, we'll tow it. That's a fact, okay?
That's a little different conversation that we had on the porch.
Okay, that's a fact.
Because you said you didn't want to tow a car in a handicap
I
spot.
don't want to argue with you, but I just want to clear up that there is enforcement, okay? That's an incorrect assessment, all right? Also, officers have discretion, always, in every part of the law. So, when they get there, they can make an assessment of something based on what they see, the egregiousness of the violation, the input from the people involved, and then they make a decision. Sometimes I stand by that, sometimes I don't, and we'll have a review of that. But your assessment that there is no enforcement of parking laws in this town is incorrect.
I didn't say parking laws, I talked about handicap ramps, handicap spots.
Dude, they're corners, the things they're
Hey,
talking about is.
I have the
parked at an
police
intersection.
report where the car backed into my car out front. It was this far off my bumper. When the police came, the guy was this much over the line. And I was told, we're not citing for that, that's just an inconvenience.
Okay, that was regarding the parking. I read that complaint. Before I talked to you. And there was a sound of an accident and no confirmation of one. Is that correct?
No, there was an accident, my car was hit.
Damage to any vehicles?
No, after the cops came and shined their lights on.
The police are called there to assess something. They did. You reported hearing a collision. They got there and could not find evidence of an accident occurring.
We had a
Okay,
witness.
so there's a
We had a
perfect
witness. My
example.
husband witnessed the car hit my car.
Perfect example of no damage being done. What would you like us to do at that point?
They should have been cited for being over encroaching on a
And
handicap
again,
spot.
I wasn't there to see how far that car was encroached on that spot. There was an officer there. He made an assessment
There's
at that
actually
point
3 officers there,
that
but
you disagree with, okay? There's channels for that. But you're not going to stand there and say that we're not enforcing the law. You are incorrect.
well, I'll respectfully disagree with you on this one. Okay?
Thanks, Betsy. Anyone else? Meeting adjourned.